West, y'all.
It works.
I better do some maintenance, having
Dry runs.
because when you have a car, you don't service it.
Yeah.
I haven't served all this equipment since we first got it, man. It's like been a year or over a year now.
Just clean off those crumbs off the. Clean off those crumbs and
Man, for me, this is my last full week of work, man. And I can't wait to finish for holidays, man.
Yeah, when you finish
next week, next Wednesday, last day.
Oh yeah, have you had your Christmas function and stuff?
Nah, it's on Thursday.
Oh yeah, what are you up to?
So it was just a lunch. We're just going for lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, we always have lunch. But how about you? Because you're with the Maka Leadership. That's a full-time gig, huh? Is it?
That's a side hustle.
Yeah.
So that's the side hustle. That's the our ode to the neighborhood. There's the Maka Leadership Program. But full time, I work in Manukau. I work for this outfit, Turiki Healthcare, and they have they're like a Waipareda Trust out west.
Oh,
but they're in the south
side.
So they have a range of services, doctors, social workers, and they have a little team that it's called the Taumata team, and they work in the district court. So they support families going through the court process. And the idea is if we catch them early, and they do some courses and stuff, they won't go through the court process, so they won't get a record or whatever. Police will just manage them out of the court process. So that's what I do during the day.
Oh, gee.
Yeah.
So the court process is that families who get in trouble and need to go to court?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So they've come to the attention of the police, and the police judge their situation on hey, things are going on that are leading to this offending. Let's engage a social service, which is us, and see if we can support them out of those sort of drivers of crime. So if they come to us and they do some really awesome stuff, get a job, do some courses, and then don't offend, they won't be charged.
So when you say families, is that more than one person? They have to be. What is the criteria of a family going through the system?
So initially it was family. So because if there was a big family, meaning children involved, and there's parents, grandparents as such, or whāngai children, there's got to be some form of family unit. That's initially what happened. But then as work came on, it just ended up taking on anyone. So maybe individual that's offended without a family. So it just ended up being everyone in the end. But ideally, the idea initially was if we support the whole whānau or the whole family, the impact of the offending won't be that great if the whole family is healed.
Right.
That's the idea,
right. Because it'll affect the whole family as a whole way if it's a child or sibling.
Especially with Maori and Pacific families, really big units. So just like our successes will benefit the whole family as well as our disappointments. So our families, our Maori and PI families, feel it a lot more when disappointment happens in the families or when the offending happens. It ripples out through the family unit a lot more than anyone else, really.
How long have you been doing that for?
Man, my first job was in Wellington. My first job was in Wellington in 2012. I got a job working at Salvation Army's transitional home for boys. So it was a transitional home for young boys who were coming out of youth justice or just about to go in. So they'll come into our house, and then we will be big brothers to them and try to get them back on a normal, a really flourishing path. And then hopefully they don't need to go to youth justice, or hopefully they have a positive life so they need to go back. So that was 2012, and that was awesome. Did that full time. So lived in the house next to the boys. So there was 3 living supervisors and 6 boys in the house. So it was just a flattening situation, but we were the big brothers. So we just should try to show an example of what it's like to take care of yourself independently, and then teach them some life skills along the way. To be honest, if I reflect back on it, of all my learning I've done, those 14 months at Salvation Army Home with those boys was the like baptism by fire. Like it was 24/7. Like you had these cats jumping through the windows, like trying to, escape and drinking and smoking, all those creative things our creative young people do. And so it was non-stop because you couldn't really sleep. Like even though it was meant to be like 3 days on shift is like 3 days engaging. But when you're living in the house, you can't not be on shift. It's kind of like, oh, something's going on there. You can't really turn a blind eye. You kind of have to like, oh, damn. So it wasn't really a 3 day on shift. It was like a full-time gig. So I did that for 14 months. And like I came out like, I was like, whoa. Like what I thought youth work was. And it was like not what I dreamed. I was dreaming like, go to camp, play around, play games, do those high wire stuff.
Yeah.
And that was cool that we got to that point sometimes, but like a lot of the times you're in the trenches, you're trying to like navigate their relationships. You're trying to like, we had one weekend where like every single young person tried to self-harm. Man, that was the hardest weekend. And shout out to Ben Florence, one of the boys in there, because he was like trained in like restraint, whereas all the other boys were like trained in like this scrap, which is a total different thing. Like if your young person's playing up, you can't scrap them out there. Like, but Ben Florence, he was trained in like safe restraint, which made it easy for us to navigate. Like when they were trying to like use knives to cut themselves.
Oh, really?
Like, us was trying to like just if we knock them out, then we drag them. In traditional professional youth work, you can't do that, But in my mind, like if I knock him out, he'll drop the knife, like
Yeah.
But then,
Especially if it was like life and death.
life in this situation, I'm just gonna like I'm just gonna turn him, send him to sleep, and then put him away safely. But like
I've been in a situation like that before.
Oh, yeah.
Like ages ago.
Yeah.
Like one guy needed to be knocked out just to calm down. Calm him down.
Yeah.
It was a sad situation, but
it had to be done. Yeah, exactly.
Like at the time, because I was drunk at the time, but we all were. It was a party. But
yeah.
Like you at the time you think, man, that's the right thing to do, But you can't. Like, I'm glad that he's got that restraint training because they figured out, we can't do that. We gotta use an alternative way.
Yeah. And I didn't know. Same as you, I was like, knock him out. Settle it, safe, everyone's safe. But it's like, no. These are young people, they have histories and trauma, so you don't want to pile it up on them. So he was like, I just got to safely, like there's ways we can do it safely, quickly. I was like, lucky you're in the house. So that was, that's how I started back in 2012. And
but that was out of it. That's pretty cool. Like, did you have to stay with the boys in the house and just be there? Have your own room and then. That's like you going to work, you can stay in this house.
Yeah.
And then go home and when your shift's over.
Yeah, you can't, there's no shift, your shift's not over, really.
Oh,
so you can't really go anywhere.
Oh.
So it's kind of like you're living full time with family members and whatever journeys they're on, you got to stick with it. And like I said, like...
So how many kids, like,
6
at one time?
6.
Oh, yeah.
So 6, so it's supposed to be 3 supervisors and 6 kids. And we rotate the supervisors on nights. But yeah.
And what sort of activities were you guys doing?
Like we'll do stuff, go to play basketball, play touch, go out watch movies. Just did heaps of cool stuff when they weren't playing up. But just a lot of the times they were dealing with a lot that was going on. So a lot of the time it was a lot of crisis stuff. So a lot of like just trying to mentor them through those hard times. But when the house was well, man, we were doing some awesome stuff, going diving, traveling out of the area, piling them in the van and going traveling wherever they want to go. And it was cool. Those things were cool.
Yeah, because it seems like the way to do it with these troubled kids. Like do activities like it's a thing where you take them out and just have fun with each other. Like a bonding session. Like
man, they loved it. They always used to love it.
Because they don't have it in real life.
Yeah. I don't. Like they've come from, not even families. They've come from the street. A lot of times they're all alone, and and so when they create these bonds and go out, they do the activities, laugh, grow, and build confidence, all that good stuff. A lot of the times they don't want to leave. Those ones they trying to drag the conversation onto store. So no, we want to go back home yet. Once the door's closed, we want to go sleep. So a lot of them, trying to drag out the whole event and stuff. So, but you are right, having those sort of situations and brotherhood and fellowship with others and good time and spaces. It's powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because with your experiencing that firsthand, like the brotherhood thing, like for me, I just hear it, you know, because I've had Rob on, he's talked about it.
Yeah.
You know, I know Isaiah's brother's in the same thing, and he's talked about it too.
Yeah.
So that brotherhood is a strong thing, eh? And then you get, you know, you hear things like, you know, you get the same brotherhood in gangs. It's the same kind of thing, eh?
Yeah.
It's whatever direction you want to take that brotherhood, eh? So I think organizations like that, like the youth work, is trying to get as many kids as you can who don't have that in their lives, and just make them not make them, but, you know, just give that environment around them, eh? To help them out.
Yeah.
With your experience over the years, how much of a proven thing is that for kids, helping kids? Like, what's the percentage of kids coming out that were coming real troubled, coming out like having a different perspective on life and moving on for better things? Like, is it a guaranteed thing, or is it?
Yeah, I think to be honest, a lot of the boys that did come through your house, like, they'll start to introduce you really well, but like, if the follow through support wasn't there, if the community that they had built in the house didn't follow them, a lot of the times they would fall over, and it's understandable, you know, like, so, and it's kind of like the double-edged sword to it all. Like, you want to send them out to become awesome, contributing young men to the community, but then you know that when they leave your house, our service stops, and then there's nothing else to pick it up.
Right.
So we're not guaranteed if they will create another positive community. And like, a lot of the times when they go back into the usual communities, like you've probably heard on this podcast, it's like, you know, what do you call it? Putting a pig back in the pigsty, it's going to get dirty again, you know? So that's a similar situation. But what I've seen, if a young person remains engaged with us, remains engaged with other social services as they transition to independence, and they do create some form of community, loving community around them, they're more likely to flourish and become positive. So I think, like, all these programs are awesome, but like, there's inconsistency in post support and what that looks like, because our service doesn't do that stuff where another service does that, and so you hope that they would engage with them. But like with anything, like, it's hard to get like a young people's trust. So when they've got your trust, that's all they know. And then if they see another service which is meant to do the post-care stuff, and then they have to re-engage again and trust them again, a lot of the times they fall short, you know. And so, like, it's great when we follow through and other services follow through. It's not so great when they don't, and a lot of the times they don't, pretty much. So it does work and it doesn't work, if that's a short answer to your questions.
Yeah. Because I think that if you know this, if the follow-up sometimes doesn't work, you're relying on other services, then shouldn't that be in the first thing in the meeting when the government have these meetings and have these these goals they have to set? Like, if it's all in the follow-up, then you'd think that they've got it sussed out.
Yeah, and you're right. I think, you know, when we talked before we came on mics and we talked about contracts, a lot of the times, you know, like, contracts can be conflicting and work can be conflicting. So, you know,
the red tape comes in.
The red tape comes in, and then they're like, this is my patch, this is my patch.
Oh, sure.
And a lot of times you get some conflicting services or conflicting personalities and spaces. And then they don't know that the person missing out is a young person. So, like, you've got all these things going on behind the scene that impacts a young person. And the young person doesn't even know what's going on. And then all you have here is some really, like, stagnant behavior from people who should be caring for the young person. And it comes down to all those things, like contracts, conflicting contracts. People are patch protective. You know, they don't want to deal with you if you're not their referral. Or if you're the referral, and they're like, no, we do better work, but we're going to show you and all this. It's just this real mixture of attitudes that don't really align to the actual young person. And I think, you know, asking the question about where I first started has kind of brought me to this now, where I'm a bit older now, and I'm a bit wiser for it, and I'm getting sick of seeing the same sort of, like, attitudes and behaviors replicate itself in today, you know. A lot of those haven't changed, but, you know, on the flip side, there are people doing some good stuff. There are some unison stuff going on. People are working together. Services, contracts are, you know, linking, but a lot of the time, like, it's not it's not the norm, it's the exception. And I think, like you said, it should be on the contracts should all fit in line together on the journey of a young person. People should be aligned, personality should be aligned, organizations should all be aligned. And like there's just too much chitter out there about who does what and who does what well and not well, and we all just got to get on the same page and just do it, really. And that's what annoys me today, really.
It sounds like, because I remember we had King Capizion, and he talked about government funding for certain things, you know, for organizations to help the community and that. And he talked about, he didn't specifically say any names, he didn't do any name drop, but it sounded to me like, you know, there's situations where these organizations get funding, and then for some reason, because there's a lot of money, they get into this like gatekeeper mode, and they don't, their services don't really go into the community what they've thought about in the first place, you know? Like, I don't know, it seems to me like it's sort of like a power thing. Like you suddenly get all this money, and all of a sudden you're like, you got this newfound power, and you're like the man, and you gotta, you know? Yeah. And then it's all about getting the funding for the next time, rather than what you're using the funding for, to serve the community and that.
I don't. Totally agree, and that makes total sense. And well, exactly what he's saying is perfectly right. Like, you know, just these big organizations get this big pocket of funding, and then, you know, it find it hard to trickle down to the people that need it. You know, and it's, I don't know what it is. You know, I think money corrupts. You know, a lot of the time if it's not used for the right purpose. And sometimes the system that the money's given in there is just all set up to fail anyway. So, like, I think a lot of changes have to happen in regards to what our organizations look like, what funding looks like. And then I think there are some, like, changes happening at the moment. I've seen a few, like, funding opportunities that are quite different from the traditional. But I think the wheels of change slow. So I don't know if it's catching up quick enough to the need in the community. So I think what King Kapisi is talking about is probably still there at the moment. So, man, just all these big organizations, they just need to relax. Just need to relax.
Because, you know, when you mentioned the organization you work for right now, like, see, that's another name on the list of organizations that are out there. And to me, there's a new name every year. Like, I never heard, you know. It seems like there's a whole lot of organizations doing the same sort of thing. And, it's just interesting that, you know, the government's pouring all this money into all these organizations. Is anything getting done? Like, you know, the mental health thing. Like, I know people complain about all that money allocated to mental health, and no one knows where it's going or where it's gone. Things are still the same.
Yeah.
It was like 50 million or something.
Yeah. How are they? Like 48 million, I think it was.
Something like that.
Yeah. You're right. Like, it's, like I said, the wheel of changes. I don't even know who they're giving it to. And, like, we applied. Like, our little youth group out in Henderson applied. We applied for the Ministry of Health funding 2 years ago. And they were, like, giving out that same funding. And then we applied for it. You know, just to do our little program out here, you know, we weren't even asking for much. And then we got denied. And then I had sent an email back to the Ministry of Health, like, can we just get some feedback on application? So when I make another one, I know what I need to fill out. Haven't heard back, because that's what I wanted to know. You know, like, I want to make an application that I know that I will get. And then didn't hear back. And so it left me wondering, where is this money going to? Like, you know, who got it? Is it making a real impact because you didn't support us? So I'm guessing I want to know, who did you support? Still don't know. I still don't know where that money went to. And I don't want to be that bad guy that keeps raring on about it, to be honest, bro. But it happens every year. Like, this money goes somewhere, but you don't know where, and you don't know how, and who's using it. And if you know in your community you're one of the people that do this particular lane of work, and you're not getting it, there's no one else that does this lane of work, then who else is getting it? You know, so I'm like, bro, who's getting the money here? You know, then I talk to the other boys doing the similar work out west, and they're like, nah, we didn't get that. I'm like, bro, who got this money, dude?
Oh, gee.
You're trying to figure out, like, you know, and we're all having similar conversations about getting denied, and, like, you don't know who's getting this money. And I'm like, bro, who's you know, so.
How many organizations at West doing what you're doing?
Oh, amazing. Like, you know, Rob and the Ranui 135 boys, and then you got the Zero boys, you got Times, you know, Tui Laepa stuff, doing their mentoring out west with Don and Rob, Tavita. Waperera got a good youth program going on as well, West Vision. So everyone's doing their little pockets of royal awesome work, but everyone's kind of got their little flavour on it. And our flavour is based around Muay Thai and martial arts,
Yeah.
which is similar to Matt Gray. Matt Gray, I don't know, Matt Gray
Yeah.
does the West Auckland Boxing Academy, and they do some stuff as well. So similar to him as well, because he's got like youth development principles involved in his teaching, and we try to do that with us as well. We're not just teaching them about throwing a kick; we're teaching them about like the discipline in that, goal planning, life skills. So life skills, and a lot of people, I don't hear a lot of people, they say, yeah, you want to teach life skills. I'm like, what is life skills? The question is, what is life skills? Like, but ours is like our real, like we were like, me and the boys in our charity were like, what are life skills to us? And it's parenting skills, it's like emotional regulation, like, and it's like violence, when can violence be used, if it can be used at all, and what's the difference between violence and self-defense. Relationships, like how to navigate being a boyfriend, a healthy boyfriend, and that sort of stuff, because that's what we saw in the kids. And so our Maka Leadership, it grew out of the our parenting ideas, and it was one of my cousin Dylan, his boys go to Messi, so they were like they're year 11 and year 12, and Messi, and at that time in 2019 and 20, there was a lot going on. Schools were still fighting, usual fighting down in Henderson, and he was getting worried for his young boys. And so out of that grew like this Maka Leadership Program. We wanted to like do something, and then Dylan had spoken, because he was on the podcast as well, a Concrete Convo podcast, and it kind of further conversations grew out of that, like how can we make a real difference in our community? And then he's like, hey, my boys are struggling, what can we do to give them some really concrete practical skills on to navigate like being bullied? Like, what do you do? Like, how do you use de-escalation skills to remove yourself from that? Like, teaching them those sort of things. You don't have to engage, you don't have to throw a punch, and teaching them those sort of things. So we wanted to teach that. So Dylan donated us his hub, his work's old hub in Brook Street, and then we kind of just slowly built our youth hub there into a gym / drop-in space for our young boys at the moment. So, and that's where that all grow. Like, how can we teach them those life skills that we never got taught, or they need now ASAP? That, a lot of times we expect our parents to teach us those like hard skills on how to navigate like emotions, relationships. But man, like I didn't get taught about relationships at all, and then I was learning from my mates who didn't know at all. So we're all trying to learn relationships from each other, and we're all like falling to pieces over it. Like we couldn't deal with breakups. We were either hurting ourselves or hurting the partner, and so we thought, like, how can we teach our young people how to navigate that sort of stuff, which we feel was important. Domestic violence is a really big subject in our community. So if we can teach them at a young age, hopefully it can stop there. So those sort of things, and that's kind of how it kind of like unfolded our Maka Leadership Program to, we've been there 2 years now. This is on Friday next week is our 2 anniversary, and we've run 8 terms for the first year. For the second year, 8 terms of young people, and I think we've had now 74 young people through our leadership program, teaching them about, I don't know, some of them I think they come for the pizza and nibbles. Shout out to Larnack Shops, they do the meanest nibbles. Honestly, if anyone wants to do a review on those nibbles, man, go to like Asian Delight next to Domino's at the Larnack Shops. You won't be disappointed. They have a perfect combination of batter, crust, and flavor. I think they've brined the I think they've put it overnight in a brine somehow, but those nibbles are the best.
I think that's it. I think that's it.
Oh man, right on the important part about the nibbles too.
That was me.
Oh yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Back to the nibbles.
I've been there. I've been there once.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember because I always get to the other one on the other side next to the sound around.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yeah, with those potatoes, man.
Yeah, I say those potatoes have a really good crust on them, man. Really good crust on them, and we had some good chicken there too. Actually, yeah. So we had a good group of young people, and
so how did the kids come? Do they?
So we just sent it out to the community. Like we don't have any formal referral from like schools or organizations. It's like we just flood our social media, and whoever turns up. They fill out a referral form, so we've got record on who comes, and then they just join in, jump in, and and learn our secret handshake. Learn our secret handshake, and hey, when we see each other on the, it's funny because one of the boys not long ago was going to get jumped in Niuean, and then in their group that was about to jump him was one of the boys, and they were like, hey. They were telling us, saying like, so what, did you get jumped? Nah, man, I got saved. I was like, great, like I went to Maka. I would have known this guy. So these two are funny. Well, anyway, good ending to that story. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so man, because I remember seeing you guys. I watched you guys' video on 531, and you guys came on there. That was a while ago. Huh?
Yeah, that was in the beginning.
I think when you first started. And I was thinking about how your guys plan for what you guys want to do with these kids, because what came to my mind when I was listening to what you guys were saying was, I think this is the answer, because you guys talking about resilience for the kids and society these days, man. I don't think resilience is part of the plan, the way things are with, with political correctness and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And when I heard about when I heard you guys speak about what you guys doing with the Muay Thai and that, like my first thoughts was, I think this is the answer to how Pacific Islanders were probably upset with the no smacking law. You know what I mean? Because that wasn't a popular wasn't a popular law when it came out. I remember because if you remember, I think Michael Jones and Vainga, they went to John Key. Remember they shook John Key's hand and they were supporting National because they were against that. I think the no smacking law thing. And I remember that time because I thought, man, what are we gonna do now? Because as for me being a Samoan, growing up, that's all I knew. That's all I knew about discipline. Like if I did something wrong, I'm gonna get a smack. I'm gonna get a hiding. But that's all I knew.
Yeah. I know.
But then that's what I thought about. And I think with the fighting thing, it's not like you guys are gonna fight to solve your problems, but it's the act of doing something really hard. Because I think any combat sports is a really hard thing, physically and even mentally. Yeah. And if you can overcome these fears of jumping in the ring with someone, and you finish that, then I think you've fought against a lot of things that can happen in normal life. It makes your mind stronger.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And that's that idea of building resilience out of learning such a martial arts. That's proven. Like a lot of people have come out saying, if you learn this martial art, all these really positive outcomes will follow. And Richie Hardcore talks about it as well, how it saved his life, and a lot of people have come forward and saying the same thing. With us, we really wanted to be intentional. So, we just didn't want them to come to a gym and hope those qualities fall out. We wanted to say, hey, we got you as a captured audience. Yes, you're learning some really important, skills in regards to kickboxing and Muay Thai. However, while we got you here, let's reflect on what you've learned. Let's really hammer it home. So, our formula that we have for our sessions is, in the beginning, we have a brotherhood check-in. So, we circle up, do a prayer, and then check in with everyone. And the question is, out of 5, how do you feel today? 1 not being too great, 5 being great. And that's our chicken circle. So we always start with that. And we wanted to build in 2 things. We wanted to build in us checking in on each other, making that an everyday occurrence, a normal behavior when you leave our class, to check in, like even at the dinner table with your family. Doesn't need to be 1 to 5. It can just be a simple, how you doing today? So we wanted to build that in concrete into our young people. And secondly, we wanted them to build in their practice, and then secondly, just as a soft check-in for us, because these young people are coming in, we want to know how they're doing. So we get them in at the end of the week on a Friday, and we really want to just to check in. We want to know how our young people are doing. So for us to know how they're coping with life that week, it's a really good pointer for us as well. And so we wanted to build that into them. And then when we learn the actual art, we wanted them to really learn the discipline part of it. Like, it's not easy. and you're gonna have to work for it. And we wanted to build that in as well. The idea of resilience, the idea of bouncing back, the idea of learning from mistakes and growing and developing, those sort of things. We wanted to build that in, and we're still kind of chopping and changing and molding things how they look. But I think the boys are really buying into it, and I think the popularity at UFC's kind of just knocked it out of the park. Like these guys actually learned UFC moves off UFC 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 on Xbox and PlayStation. They even know moves. A lot of them have done a lot of training and stuff. So we wanted to build that into them safely. And I do agree. When the anti-smacking bill came in, I think it swung the pendulum too far, and we couldn't touch our young people. We couldn't discipline them in a way that we thought was healthy. And I understand why. Yeah, I understand why. There were some, real media heavy results of people assaulting their children. So our country's response to that, let's not smack our kids at all. But then,
because the way I saw it was you're throwing the baby away with the bathwater, sort of thing.
Exactly,
I think island families know how to do it better than probably anyone else.
Yeah.
So when we get slapped with that law, there's not all of us. There's some. I think there's a small part of society that goes the wrong way.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened. They went
because there's
far.
deaths.
Yeah, there's deaths.
There's been deaths.
So they swung the pendulum too far, and then we lost those opportunities to teach our young people about life in general. And so there was research done, and Nick Tuitasi, he's a really big supporter of discipline in situations. And so what he talked about was there was a research out of America that said that there was, we can still discipline our young people, but within a supportive environment. And when you bring up our Pacific people, that's how it always happened. That line that came forward was like, but I still love you. But I still love you. But I love you. And so what he's talking about is we can do that. We can discipline our young people, but we have to support them, because the pain and punishment, if you didn't support them and realizing why, it just becomes a lot of hatred and a lot of animosity towards people who've done that to them. But if you support them with a supportive environment, explain to them the lessons of why that happened, you get a lot better result. And so, but that's still illegal now. So you can't not even do that. But I identified with what he was saying. There are situations and ways to do it in a positive way, which I think our majority of our Polynesian people were.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right. It is the why. Yeah, I got smacked because I did something bad. Not because my dad was drunk or came home and took it out of me, sort of thing, which happens. Which happens.
Yeah.
I think that's the big difference.
Yeah. Oh, I think for me it was I didn't get that explanation. So I was on the other side, I
didn't need to get an explanation. I knew that did something bad. Answered back or.
Yeah. I mean, sorry, I just didn't get any explanation, and I didn't do anything bad. So it just came at a random times. Dad was in a bad mood, and I remember my dad always used to wake up, and when he had a red eye, he starts scratching his head, and then he'll just look, and then for no reason he'll just chuck the guitar at us or something And so I think discipline in that form, I didn't learn anything, and then what the result from that was probably not positive. Well, it wasn't positive because I ended up getting in a lot of trouble because I didn't know any better, and I thought the actions you take to rectify a situation came with your fist, and so a lot of the times this is what happened. So
I think a lot of the Pacific Islanders were against that smacking bill because they didn't know any other alternative. That was the main problem.
Yeah, well, that's right, because we weren't taught anything else. We were just stop smacking, but there are other options actually. You're right.
Well, the Palangis do it.
The Palangis do it really well.
You get grounded, or
you get grounded. You get things taken off you. You get time out, and
and that's what I didn't understand with my Palangi mates.
Yeah.
I got grounded. What the hell was that?
What do you mean?
You get a smack and it's done right there in the story. You can do whatever after that. The punishment's already done.
Yeah. Carry on.
Carry on.
Oh man,
that was one benefit, I guess.
Yeah.
But you've been going on for 2 years, eh? So the kids are just coming through and just learning the skills and learning life skills from the Muay Thai and that.
Yeah. So we have the Muay Thai going on, and then we have some guest speakers come in and speak life into the young people as well. You know, we've had a bunch of people.
Any kids take it seriously and move on?
Yeah. So we've
carry on.
We were lucky enough to start a collaboration with the Shinobi Academy. So in our hub now, we have a fully fledged Muay Thai, MMA gym running. So they run their classes from Monday to Thursday. So we transition the boys who want to go from our Maka Leadership into their classroom. So we've got 3 at the moment in the serious classes. So they train every day.
Right.
So we're hoping that's the end result, is that they go on to some competitive fighting.
Yeah.
Best case scenario, off to the UFC. So we're slowly moving. We've got 3 at the moment, so hopefully get a bit more, few more through. And we're just lucky we got Janis from City Kickboxing. We just met him off the cuff, and he's awesome with young people. He's Westy Hard, Waitakere College.
Yeah.
Young, I think he's 24. Has a real passion for the hood, real passion for young people. So just a real big blessing to have him in the house. And he's awesome. My daughter goes to his children's. He runs children's classes as well.
Oh, gee.
Just really, man, if you can control my daughter, you're great. You're great. You're that man. So, just really grateful to have good people like him, Billy and Ahmed come through and create a space for our young people to come in further. And being from the area, it's always a blessing too when you got someone he's down for the hood.
Good thing what you guys have created with the Maka Leadership, with the kids too. Like, you get kids that are going to move on to competitive, or you can get kids that move up to become part of the organization and become the next, the next people taking the kids. Yeah, growing into that. But has that been an opportunity for some?
Yeah.
As well?
Definitely. Like, it was always important, like, because when we're gone, the dream doesn't lie with us. The dream is bigger than us. And then, like you said, we've got 2 youth leaders, so they take Friday nights. So they've got a lesson plan, they follow that. Any changes, they do that as well. So so they can take the reins. We just got to have an adult there. So whatever they do on Friday, it's whatever they do on Friday, and they've got our framework to work from. And so they're really man, those dudes have grown significantly. They have confidence. So I went to sparring the other week, and then one of the other boys, like, it was his first sparring class. Honestly, he boxed me out of the town, man. Like, I was like, this guy, oh, man, you talk too well, mate. You talk too well. So he really did well. So, man, like, to see that growth in him in regards to the martial arts, and the rest of him and the other brother in regards to their confidence and speaking. So one of our sessions is about confident speaking, and it was built on the idea that, like, a young person that goes to court, sits in front of a judge and bows his head, doesn't say nothing. Not because he can't, but because he doesn't feel he can, or doesn't feel confident he can. So if we can get our young person to speak confidently in spaces where they otherwise wouldn't, then we could see a lot more changes happening in their life if they are able to speak out to their need, rather than other people making decisions for them. So we were really heavy on that, because we wanted our young people to know the power of oratory and know they can do that for themselves as well. So that's built into one of our lessons. Yeah.
And that's pretty important too, especially living in New Zealand in this Western society, because you have to have the gift of the gab sometimes there, because it's a dog world out there. You need to know how to. It's good that you get these kids to be confident to speak.
Yeah,
because that's like a cultural thing as well. How we don't make eye contact. Because it's like an elder thing. You don't want to disrespect the elders, so we don't do it. But to the Barangis, they think it's a sign of weakness. Hey, this guy is like, but it's not. To us, so
not even a sign of weakness, like a sign of like guilt.
Yeah.
Oh, this guy must have done that. He doesn't want to make my lock him up. That's the case. And so, like, teaching them those sort of things to, like, speak to their need, we hope it can change. Because, like, a lot of people, me, when I see people talking too much, I think, this guy's an eats dude. But, not having that attitude towards other people as well. Like, I respect his words, and then he'll respect mine. And hopefully to instill those sort of qualities in our young men. I know we know that, like, a lot of the times we go through one ear out the other end. But, I mean, it's like a toolbox, like, they don't know when they're going to use it. And if we don't say anything or don't give them that tool in the first place, they won't have it at the ready when they need to. So sometimes they might not use it, but if they have some knowledge in their toolbox, it's better than not. Yeah.
It's funny, all that, what we're trying to teach the kids and teach our own kids to how to live in this world, because it's like we still haven't understood how to. Like, if you want to make it, to me, I always think, it's a Balingi world. You got to live their ways to get up to their level, sort of thing, But I think that's what my parents thought too when I was growing up. Because it's like, you got to be a lawyer, you got to be a doctor, Like, all right, whatever. Like, they never talk someone to ask. They're just English, So it's like, you live the Balingi way because we're living here, so that's how you navigate through that world. But you still don't really understand, because they're so different, man.
And hard all day. Like, as much as we try to teach, there's things, to our young people to say, hey, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to learn. Then there's always the question, are we compromising our culture? Are we compromising our identity if we do that? But then, I mean, when we look at it, being confident and knowing our space and having a voice, that's been passed down for years, and a lot of the times it's just been skewed by outside influences. It's been skewed by, ideas about how life should be lived. But
that's what diversity is for now. Because everyone's into the diversity thing now. That's supposed to allow different cultures to come through and be on the same level or be on par with what goes on. Because you even see it with other ethnicities. Sometimes it's wrong because they kind of force it.
Definitely. Yep.
Like just because you're got different skin color, you can come in and work here. Just because you want to tick a box. But it doesn't matter if you're qualified as long as we got the diversity in my workplace.
Oh, but I don't, man. That's a tough one, Like, because you want to encourage some form of diversity if it's deserving. Not just for the sake of having diversity. I think that's two different things. Like
equal opportunity. But I think if the kids have the skills, then that's the opportunity. Because they're equal with the skills of the Balingi kids. If we can understand both cultures, and still have our culture intact, know when to use it, when it's not be like Jerome Luai and uses Australian culture to the someone wedding.
This guy, mate, it's that New South Welshman in me. No Maroons would have done that. No Maroons would have done that. We would have been respectful, man. You won't catch Josh Papali'i doing that, mate. He's like, respectful. It's just the Maroons way. But
that was crazy.
Oh man, that was we blew up on online for a little bit, but I think because everyone had a bit of a thing with him even before that. When he was getting chewed apart at the Panthers and stuff after the celebrations, I'm like, leave him alone, he's all good. I don't know. Would you say that to anyone else?
It was funny because when I saw his speech, then I thought, man, he really doesn't know the culture. Like, he doesn't speak Samoan properly, and he grew up probably Australian ways. So because throughout the World Cup, I thought the narrative was Joseph Suaalii, he's the one that's not known in his culture.
Yeah.
But we never heard anyone else. But he was the quiet one. So
I don't know, man. Maybe, how would he have been different if he hadn't drunken a few beers? But man, I'm like, every time he's been drinking beers and celebrating, it's never been good. It's never been good.
Because if it was an Australian wedding, it'd be normal.
Yeah, true. If it wasn't, true, you're right. Because that's their culture, That's their culture. Yeah, all right. Yeah, true. Yeah,
well, that was funny.
But
So what's So I don't know where you guys gym is. Whereabouts in Ranui?
Oh, just at the back of Waitaki College on Brook Street. The street where the steel factory is on. Where the Yeah. We're at the beginning of the street, just behind the GAS, the Orange Gas Station.
Oh, right.
Orange Gas Station on Swanson, so we're just behind there.
Yeah.
So we're pretty deep in that area. I like that area of West Auckland. It's pretty good. Close to Henderson, close to Ranui, close to Messi. So it's pretty good. Yeah.
There's another organization out south doing a similar thing to you guys. They've got the gym. I think they do a podcast there, and they have like events in the weekend. Like they open a gym and all the community comes in and there's a store.
Oh, right.
I think was it Brown?
Oh, the Brown Pride boys.
Brown Pride.
Yeah.
They're doing similar thing.
Yeah. They got a pretty mean setup out there. Massive setup actually, and they're based around. They do a lot. I think they got a recording studio in there as well. They've got actual recording company. Checking out beats and stuff. I don't know them personally, but just because I work out there, I've met a lot of people who have been through there.
Yeah.
They do some really awesome work. As well, and there's a few others like there's Singi Pisalele. He's got a similar at Otahu or Tahu. They do kickboxing, and I think Luke Mialamu is involved with them as well. And they do some really good stuff around mentoring young people and doing Muay Thai as well. So there's some really good people ourselves doing a lot of good things actually. Only one out west I know is Matt Gray, and their boxing academy and the stuff they do, and then our little hub at the back there. But yeah.
And then there's Brown Butterbean, his one there.
Yeah. Brown Butterbean, he does amazing work. That guy, he does everything really.
He's the man, eh?
Oh, he's the man. Yeah. I mean, like I posted on my Facebook last week because one of the families I work alongside. Just she got on bail, and the family hadn't eaten because she had a warrant for arrest. So when you get a warrant, wins cuts your benefit until you address their warrant. So she had a warrant out, and so she hadn't had any money. And then as we left court, I hadn't because Brown Butterbean runs a food share. Awesome, they do some awesome work providing food for the community.
That was bad how that they stole from that.
Oh man,
food place.
Yeah, that was sad actually. They didn't just steal; they raided their place. I was like, "What are you gonna do with that much mince, man?" So it was pretty sad. But I was able to, because there's a process you have to go through to get these food parcels. And what I usually do is send an email and they respond, come through. But I hadn't done any of that, and I kind of just turned up on the front door. And I've done that with some other food banks, and they don't like it, and I understand because they get funded by the referrals. So they need to record it. But when I turned up with a mum, they were mean, man. They were like, no, come through. But they didn't just give, they gave a whole bloody pallet. And then they pulled her out of the car and saying, you come and choose your food. So it was a really uplifting experience for the mum. In the beginning, she was kind of embarrassed, shy. But man, after she left, she was just kind of like, you could see a sense of kind of like, empowerment to her because she felt like she was valued. She just wasn't given a box. She was like, nah, we give you an empty box and you take what you need. And then when she left there, she's like, yeah, man, this is me. No, they go, me, can I borrow some biscuits? Can I have some biscuits? But yeah, shout out to Brown Butterbean and his future. All the work he's doing. And there's some lot of work, awesome work going out south that I kind of like always look out and, oh man, we can do some stuff like that out west as well.
He's the one guy that's Brown Butterbean that's on the forefront of that kind of charity work and what he does for fitness and mental health, because the way he uses social media, he's onto it. He's onto everything. Like he had the platform of his boxing in the beginning, so that was his foundation. So everybody knew who he was. Then he did his weight loss, which inspired more people. And now he's just going into these things like doing the gyms and his food bank thing and his mental health awareness and all that, his book, but the way he uses social media, like he gets himself out there, and man, I just give it up to that guy and the hard work behind the scenes of doing all that stuff. It's like that's a full-time job.
Definitely. Even just having to pull it out while in transit to places, like he's able to be on social media to get support while he's over heading to somewhere. I'm just really impressed with how he's able to use social media to get that momentum in the community to really kick into causes that he has. Like it's beyond, and he's got like not only a certain section of the community, like it's not just the brown part of the community. He's got like everyone, like all sections of society, always coming back for him. And I'm like, man, this is. Oh man, I just keen to catch up with him actually and see if we can kind of like collaborate some way. And get learn some things off him as well. Yeah.
Because that must be the goal for you guys. Because I know for this day and age, like so social media is a big part of to get out there now. I mean, it's a free platform for anyone to jump on Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah.
But then you got to do the work to, and it has to be consistent work.
Yeah.
You can get lucky with a video here and there and get followers straight away, but it's like the constant work of getting into it. So you really have to be into it. I don't know. But it's a good platform to get out there.
Yeah,
and I think some people are really good at it, and they just use it the way they should be using it.
Yeah. I don't. The full-time job, like, with us, we always like trying to remind the trainers, like, oh, don't forget to take some photos, or don't forget to like, it's like oh, we need a media person, man, like, we need someone full-time, like, just to make sure we capture this. And it's not for the idea of like, boasting, because it's always like, let's inform our community, more so let's inform our families who are watching, and we have their kids for a certain part of time. We want to let them know that we're being responsible. We want to let them know they are there, are in a positive environment, and that's pretty much why we do it. The media stuff, and then if anything else positive falls out of that, like more connections, more collaborations, and more funding, then that's just a bonus. But if we can show our families that their young men are safe, positive, then that's a priority for our social media. Yeah.
When you guys doing your podcast, Concrete Convos, what was the best things that you've learned from talking to people on your podcast and just getting out there to the community and the engagement and all that?
Oh man, it was when we kicked off so the podcast Concrete Convo started in October 2019, and it grew. It was a funny sort of combination of reasons why it came to be. I myself and Hydro, that was also on the program on our podcast. We played for Maris Rugby League. So that's our junior club, and that's the kind of club we born and raised at. And but also, he was locked up for aggravated robbery. I was locked up for grievous bodily harm, 2 separate incidents, but at the same age. And so we returned to our local club to kind of like go back and build a community after all this happened. We got sent to prison. And then from that, our journeys kind of collided to say, hey, we're older now, we went through this, we've seen what's going on at the club. At that time, our school had a shooting on Richardson Road, and it had to do with some of the Aussie gangs, and some of our club were involved. And so we had our experience, we had our community at Maris. We wanted to do something with sending a message to our young people about, trying to do things differently. And then he just said, man, should we do a podcast? I watched he was he still is, avid podcast watcher. He was watching a podcast I hadn't even heard before. And then he said, bro, I've got some music here. So he's a musician. So Hydro, that's his bread and butter. So he had microphones, he had a camera because he bought himself a camera to do his own video clips, which are pretty funny. He was showing me some of his early video clips, trying to be a solo like director as well as an artist.
Yeah.
Trying to, it was funny. And so he had this camera, he had microphones, he had an audio interface, and he said, man, I can start it now. We can start releasing it, and we can try to put some of our conversations out there. And we named it Concrete Convo because we wanted to incorporate our the street mentality that we kind of picked up along the way when we were younger, and then the Tupac is that poem that became a rap about the rose that grew from the concrete, and that poem was kind of like a basis of our trying to create hope in our communities. And so that's where the idea of Concrete Convo came from. And so we wanted to just open up the airwaves and put our ideas and conversations of how we saw things going previously and what we wanted to see in the community now, particularly Roscoe at that time, and then Avondale because it's just over the hill, just over by coming to Mount Albert. And so that's how it all started. The origins of Concrete Convo, and then it kind of transformed. We had people on where it all started with community people, so people doing stuff in the community, or it was based around initially those men who had reformed themselves, so ex-gang members, guys who got into trouble, and then it kind of just grew into like other men who had stories, other women who had stories. They wanted to share, rags to riches stories, from hopelessness to hope sort of stories. So we had all those stories, and we just wanted to kind of like build a wave of conversations that kind of like people latched onto. We had awesome speakers. Our first one was PJ Joseph. He does basketball. So he was involved with Lindsay Tate running these community basketball sessions out west and east actually. And so he talked about his struggles trying to battle into boxing New Zealand, who were trying to like be dodgy with contracts, and they were community minded, but they just wanted to do the work, but they weren't getting any contracts. So we had him on talking about that, and then mental health, men's mental health as well. Then we had Jay Puke, one of the West boys who's now in Christchurch, speak about his time in prison and creating his own charity. He was amazing. He's wiser than I thought he was, to be honest. I just knew him as a footy player.
Yeah.
But he was a wise man. Read a lot, well read, well researched. Just had like every kind of like comment he made was like a quote. It was like this guy's a walking quote. It was like just everyone. Wow, yeah, I like this quote and did this. Just a really amazing man. And a brother from the hood, from West. So he was did some amazing stuff. And then probably our most telling podcast was on November 2020. We had our men's mental health podcast, and we had 7 boys on. A couple from Melbourne, and we just spoke about men's mental health, and that blew up. That's been our most viewed and our most reshared and shared Zoom recording that we had. And so yeah, that's a bit of a background about our podcast, and we got to, and then we ended up transitioning into the charity work with Maka Leadership, because the conversations got to a point where we needed to act on. We needed to really like take it to another level on what that day looked like. We wanted to go out there and really provide a space for our young people, and just really be present. The podcast was good. It started this conversation. It's always going to be there. We'll come back. But what are some tangible, practical things we can do in front of our young people to kind of make immediate changes, changes. And then so myself, Leo, Mikey, Dylan, Jack, and Hydro created the Brotherhood Continues Charitable Trust. So the Brotherhood Continues Charitable Trust was related to the Marathon Continues from Nipsey Hussle. So Nipsey Hussle had his Marathon Continues brand and business, and it talked about never giving up, always running your race. And so for us, we wanted to do something similar, named it Brotherhood Continues Trust, because we wanted to instill movement, momentum, and never ending. So next brother will tag in next brother, and then this work never ends. So that's how we named it Brotherhood Continues Trust. And that's from that grew our Maka Leadership Program that we have now. Been running for 2 years. Alongside the Maka Leadership Program, we have the Maka Combat Holiday Program that's been running for 2 years as well. So we have a week of just intense combat. One day is jiu-jitsu, one day is Muay Thai, one day it's boxing. And we just get in like Westies. Our first call is to the West. Let's look for brothers out West, because this is our hood and these young people are in this neighborhood. So hopefully these networks will entertain. And so we've had some really awesome practitioners come through and talk to our young people. When Blood Diamond was staying in Sunnyvale, he came through and spoke to our boys before we went off to his first UFC match. So we've had a lot of people come through, talk to our young people, and it's been a journey. I think we've done a lot in the 2 years. We've had art gallery at our space. We've had social sizzles. We've had the office of the Children's Commission. They came down and ran a program at our location. We've had a few things going on there in the last 2 years. And
few things, man, sounds like heaps of things.
yeah. So it's been like we opened the space, and like I think COVID kind of like was a blessing in disguise. like COVID put a lot of energy behind people wanting to go back into spaces when the doors opened up. So we just made our space available for our community, and there was no charge or whatever. You just kind of like, if you want to come down and use the space, use the space. And
Even during the lockdowns.
Yeah. So during the lockdowns, when it got down to the safe level, we opened up the doors and we put through all those protocols, and
The lockdown was like you said, a blessing in disguise for, I think, for organizations, because it gives them time to just sit back and just think and reflect on what you've been doing and what you can do to improve or whatever. Think about what's going to happen when things open up. But we got that enough time to think about all that stuff. Right?
Yeah. Definitely was a blessing in disguise to kind of regroup for us, and really trying to kind of like identify, like, when we come out of this lockdown, like, we got to be really mindful about our young people, because while the evidence was there that the young people didn't deal too well, being removed from their communities, their spaces of the gatherings and all that, and so we wanted to so when we come out of this, we're going to be mindful about our boys, because they're coming from nothing to back into the gathering spaces. So we did the Zoom thing with our boys. We warmed them to it. We didn't want to cut them off, even though Zoom to some degree didn't give too much of a connection. It gave a little bit, but not too much. So, but we wanted to give them something anyway. And then once we were able to get out of lockdown, even now, to be honest, there's still some remnants and residue of that lockdown coming through our young people. But we still just want to be there. I think the biggest thing we can do is open space. Our young people didn't have it, and they're just getting used to getting that space back. So getting that space of safety, of positivity, and getting positive brown role models, not even brown really, just positive role models in front of our young people regularly, to just kind of hit home those messages they weren't in tune to when they were locked down. Because I think, the lockdowns still, the impacts of that still going to be felt a long time moving forward.
What are your thoughts on, how you talked about lockdowns affected the kids? And a lot of kids, actually, in a big way. The kids not going back to school, or because of COVID, and then there's there's crime and the ram raids happening. Well, what's your thoughts on that? And because I've had other youth workers talk about how, I've heard the radio or the news say they're blaming it on some of it on lockdowns, and kids not going back to school, or kids not not having that school time anymore, so they're resorting to other things. Because it's usually the underage that are getting caught doing the ram raids, and then the thing is that the police can't do much, and you definitely let the kids go after getting a slap on the hand or something like that thing. But But what's your thoughts on that and the kids coming through? Are you seeing the same thing as what the news is talking about?
Yeah. Oh man, I don't think there's any one answer, even though I think some people have painted it as that, like just the lockdowns or whatever. I think it's a combination of a few things going on.
Because there's other people saying that ram raids been happening all the time. It's just for some reason the media is concentrating on it.
Well, exactly. Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say, because it's been happening for yonks, all the time. But what I do know, our young people have been impacted. We know that's true. Our young people have been impacted, and them not having the spaces to be able to consistently check in with other peers. I think that support system and spaces and gatherings took a lot away. Like I was talking about, I learned about relationships from my other mates, but then you have young people now who are in the same age that I was in, didn't have that opportunity because they weren't able to gather. They weren't able to have those conversations. Yes, they had online, but it was only kind of limited to fortnight. So they didn't have those conversations to have with other gatherings. So you remove that sort of soft chicken or that soft peer group gatherings from happening for 2.5 years. You don't get those learnings, and so you have young people who are trying to figure out, at a core stage of their growth period, when brain development's not even there, we're learning about life isn't there, peer support isn't there. So we're putting our young people back into society where they haven't had time to trial and error. Like trial and error with your mates, trial and error on a small scale. So a lot of those core decision-making things aren't happening cognitively before they get to making these big mistakes. And like you said, memories have been happening for a while. And a lot of the evidence says that, youth offending has been falling, and crimes have been falling in general, and but then you have the other party which says, we're too soft on crime, our young people aren't listening because we're not teaching them how to listen, So I think, some core decision-making processes haven't gone on before that, so our young people are sitting in a South Auckland garage.
That's what Luxon was saying. Yeah.
Without these sort of core decision-making processes, I think just and then they're taking a little bit to catch up. I think our young people will catch up in the end, but when you remove space, time, face-to-face engagement and connection from a young person's life, it's not going to really prepare them to make certain decisions when they need to be made. And so for me, time will come and they will get into a place where they'll figure it all out. But I understand some young people who don't, have the ability to make some really important decisions at the moment because of COVID and because of things have changed in regards to not in COVID, employment, schooling, all those different spaces have affected as well. So just waiting for young people to catch up. But sometimes, like we talk about policies, and sometimes policies haven't changed to catch up as well. It's always there. It's always like sometimes a trapdoor. Like you change policy to be harder on young people, then they reoffend because they don't learn their lesson. Then you kind of soften it, and then you're like they don't learn their lesson as well. Then they blame you being soft on crime. And
that's why I think the no spanking law was a big mistake.
Yeah.
Because what that did, that changed the way teachers handle troubled kids at school.
Yeah.
Like a kid that plays up. Like I remember when we were at school, we played up. The teacher doesn't take the kids out of the classroom and leave the kid to throw chairs around and shit. Like that's what they do now.
Yeah.
I mean that's the policy now. The policy is that if a kid plays up, you let them play. You just the safety of the other kids. You got to take them out. And let the kid destroy the classroom because it's better than hurting the kids. What?
I don't know. And we all had that. We all had that. Like couple of teachers who were like, "Hey, you come out of here," and you're like, "Yeah, okay, you're right." But you can't do that anymore. Like everyone's gun shy. You have to be gun shy because we don't know what's going to unfold, and you don't want to be they're teaching the paper for being whatever. So you just kind of like, hey, policy is let's avoid the situation, keep everyone safe. But if I reflect on my schooling, there's one teacher that I responded to, and he was the hardest one.
Yeah.
And he's actually a good mate of mine. Shout out. A good mate of mine now. He ended up, becoming good friends. But if it wasn't for him being how he was, and like doing those things he probably wouldn't be able to do now, I wouldn't be where I am today. Even though I played up after school, but I mean, I came back around and learned my lesson quick. But without him, I always reflect on him because he came to. It was hard love at a time when I needed it. And I don't know in this day and age if he would have done that. I probably wouldn't have actually. And so I wouldn't have learned those crucial lessons about life and respect.
And I think that's the way, I think that's what's happened. Like in the small part of, all these kids doing the ram raids and crime and that I think a small part of it is because there's no spanking law. Because they're not, I think we're not the type of people to be disciplined the Palangi way.
Yeah.
Because that's not going to do jack shit, I think.
Yeah.
Like 10 minutes in the corner, what's that going to do?
Well, even that, they even say that's even bad though. Time out in the corner.
It's
too harsh now.
What's up?
It's a negative psychological impact on your children.
See, and they wonder why there's like...
And it's a funny year because like, they always have research though that says that, Polynesians pre-colonialism, treated our people without having to resort to physical abuse, of physical discipline, not abuse. And then now we're like, we only can respond to that form of discipline. I think culture changes, and I think now that we may, use physical discipline for our people. But like we said earlier in the show, like if you don't wrap that around with the principles that make us who we are, which is, support, love, caring, if we don't wrap what our cultural idea of discipline looks like, and that it's not cultural, then that's when it slips into being colonialistic. But if what I'm trying to say is that we keep our principles and what makes us beautiful as a culture, moving forward, we keep that, then that whatever discipline we do, it's always going to win. But I think, going the other way where we can't do it at all is kind of like tie people's hands behind their back. But I think like again.
So you reckon that should be a part of decolonization? Like, it's taking the good bits of our culture.
No, I think that's what culture is.
Move it forward.
Yeah, I think that's what culture is.
Yeah.
Like, our culture back then is not the same now. Culture is dynamic and moving and fluid and growing. And so that's exactly what it is, it's taking what, like if you look at navigation, navigation between the islands, smaller islands, is not the same as navigation between the bigger islands. You had to learn to adjust. You had to learn to take what you learned from navigation in the smaller islands, and then you had to create your own new double hull waka to get to the furthest islands.
Right.
So if we use that example of culture, that's something we need to do. We need to take what works in this part of our time and culture and implement it now and use what works. And I think that's what culture is about. You can't take that and try to do the same now. It's never going to work. And I think that's the nature for any culture, really. It's just, if you hold on to the principles of what makes your culture beautiful and utilize what works now, then you're always going to be consistent to your culture.
How about the parts of the culture that colonization has taken away? Like parts that we thought it was good. Can we use this? And colonizers say, nah, I'm not going to take that. Well, we'll take the other thing. We're going to take that.
I think to some degree, like if it's obviously like moralistic, negative and bad, like I think you got to leave that. Like, you got to leave that behind. Obviously, if you're definitely way off. But I mean, if there's definitely some aspects of our culture that are positive, I reckon take that. I think that if anything, like, even with Western European ideas and technology, they've done the same. They did the same with, like, Egyptian ideas that came through. The Bible taught us some things that we took on board and that we didn't. So I think it's happened throughout history that we just utilize what works for us best.
Because that was my thinking of this movement of decolonization that they're trying to do in New Zealand. And like, it started with got to pronounce names properly, and you see it on the TV. The anchor people, people on the news are pronouncing them properly, and all that, the names and that. But it's good to have language in classes and that. With the because I heard on the news, the National Party want to bring in, if they become the new government, they want to bring in that send these troubled kids to the army. Yeah. Do you agree with that?
I think it goes back to the same conversation we had. It was like, evidence is that the evidence is clear that the boot camp stuff that they did previously didn't work.
It didn't work.
It didn't work. So that stuff didn't work. And the idea is because it didn't. There was no follow up. There was no weapons for support. And that's what things come out to say again. So Luxon's come out to say, actually, I want to do this, but we're going to put the support in place. So even he knows
the follow up.
Yeah, the follow up stuff. So we talked about it before. So. Like, it didn't. It can work depending on what it looks like. If it looks like what it used to look like, it's just gonna re-traumatize our young people. And what happened then is that they ended up becoming wards of the state and gang leaders. But if you have a boot camp which is supportive, has follow up, has teachings, has learnings, then it will definitely work. Like there is evidence that suggests if you wrap stuff in full support, with good people, with good mentors, with just with positive people surrounding that whole approach, then it's no doubt it's gonna work. So I think it will work, and just gotta look right, really, for our young people. We can't take an old idea, which was boot camp back in the 70s, 80s, and put it now. It's not gonna work. It's just gonna re-traumatize young people. But I think there are some good stuff. Like there's LSV, WINS do limited service volunteer. 6 weeks for young people 17 to 24 in Burnham, Christchurch, and Waiuru or Papakura. So they have a form of boot camp, LSV, and the same thing. It's awesome for 6 weeks.
Oh, but after that,
Yeah, it's
you're on your own.
so I've had a few young people go through that. They've like been mean at it, like they've enjoyed it, but like that's it. It's 6 weeks.
And then back in the
back into
pigsty.
big style. Yeah. So like anything like like we said previously, it's the follow through, the follow up, and the support. Yeah.
I remember Samoa had a boot camp,
Yeah.
but it was for American kids.
Oh yeah.
So American kids will come, they'll get in trouble over there and send them to Samoa to do this boot camp.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and Ella Iverson's son
Oh yeah.
went there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
How was it? How was the feedback about how it went? Like, there was any feedback?
There was a documentary about it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it's on YouTube.
Yeah. Oh,
I think it's not open anymore, but
Yeah,
it used to be. Yeah, a lot of American kids came down. But I think it worked for some.
Yeah.
Didn't work for.
Oh right.
Like some didn't like it was too hard and
Yeah.
you know. But it was straight Samoan style, it was like discipline and work.
Yes, old school.
Old school,
Yeah,
you know. But yeah, because I know, Alan Iverson's son was there, and Alan Iverson came to pick him up in Samoa, and he took some photos of some of the locals and that.
Yeah.
But it's interesting there. Like, it's funny how, you know, they want to resort back to going to boot camps and this army kind of discipline there. You know?
Yeah. Now, to me, when I heard it, I was like, oh, bro, this guy's like just, you know, he's feeding into the hysteria to get some momentum behind some sort of ulterior motives. But then he didn't renege. He reframed what he was saying, and then he said, "No, actually, this is what I want it to look like. If it was to go ahead, and I'm like, well, if you put that in place, then of course, it's gonna definitely have a better outcome for my young people, other than just putting them through some suicide training and leaving them to fend on their own. It's just gonna not work. But yeah, just
seems like there's a danger of mainstream media too, like the news. Like if they're reporting on all these things, you know, of course the parties are gonna reply, or because I know the public's listening, so they're gonna address it.
Yeah,
and then you know the news is reporting on all this crime, and then of course National's gonna come and say, "Look, Jacinda, you're not doing jack. You know, you need
this is what we're gonna do.
This is what we're gonna do." You know? You know?
Exactly what happened. You know, it's like, hey, I'll do this, but.
And then we're like over here, nah, man, this grandma is going on forever. What are you talking about?
Well, they're gonna be still going on. It's like it's a thing. It's a thing. Yeah.
I've talked to other youth workers, and I've always asked the question like, is this an uphill battle? Is there gonna be a time where you're not gonna have a job anymore because everything's sweet? There's no need for a youth worker anymore, because you know when you look at the demographic on who you're applying your trade to, you know, it's always the poor people, the poor areas. So then automatically it's poverty. So if you address poverty, then all these things will go away. So it seems like a simple kind of thing, like handle it from the back end, not in the front end.
Yeah.
Like, do you always think about that?
Yeah, I mean that's like, you know, like no one ever wants to see a young person go through any sort of unnecessary trauma. You know, because you know, if it's a brown person, you feel part of their journey somewhere. You're like, man, I don't want this to happen, to keep happening. And then, you know, always hoping like, you know, am I making a difference? Can we stop this tide? Can we turn the tide? And will I ever be out of a job? You know, I think, you know, as a youth worker, you can always only but hope. In regards to if it's going to be a realistic thing to ever see in my lifetime, probably not, to be honest. So probably not. There's always going to be some sort of young person making a mistake along the way, and some sort of young youth worker that needs to be there to get them back on track.
But if we realize the solution is at the back end of it, like dealing with poverty, then it should be a simple.
Yeah,
like the government can do things to help poverty. Like you know, for me, like I always think that, you know, Labour is the party to help, but they're not.
Yeah.
You know, they don't. So they're not like the Labour Party from the old days.
No, definitely not.
They're not the David Longy Labour Party. You know,
no, definitely not.
You know, I don't know what kind of, I don't know what they stand for anymore. You know, like it's an uphill battle for them. Because it seems to me like they're blaming it on the previous government, but the previous government was like a few years ago.
Yeah, I don't 2 terms ago.
Or was it the Greens that coming at the back and they're too extreme? I don't know, but you know, it's like, because I thought that the Labour Party is always for the working class.
Working class,
Because they were. I mean, they are. They are. That's why all the islanders vote for them. You know. But so to me, like you deal with poverty, and to me, some of the solutions are obvious, like free public transport, free health, free education. You know, these are stresses poor families don't have to worry about. So if they don't have to worry about that, then they can go on to not stress and affect the families. You know.
I don't. Yeah, definitely. If you address poverty, you definitely take a lot of our young people, you know, off making those negative decisions, or it'll just stop a lot of issues arising in families in many ways. And like you said,
it will help.
Yeah,
it'll at least help.
Definitely will help.
Maybe cut the problem in half. Maybe.
Yeah.
At least or something.
Yeah, definitely will. And that's what she campaigned on, actually. You know, eradicating child poverty. You know, like Jacinda Ardern, that's what she stood on. You know, I'm going to eradicate, you know, I'm going to put all these money toward eradicating child poverty, because she knew as well, you know, that it would impact positively on our communities. Like you said, it wouldn't stop it fully, but it definitely would alleviate a big chunk of it. You know, so I definitely agree with their poverty. But then again, like you said, you mentioned the political aspect to it all, and man, that's a whole mess in itself. You know, like I don't even know whose side I'm on some days. You know, like some days I wake up and man, you know, and traditionally, you know, Labour, because you know they were for the working class, but like you said, definitely not the David Longy, or the working class and looking out for the blue collar worker, definitely not. And because I was a supporter of Jacinda Ardern even before she got into Parliament. You know, I met her in Wellington as a youth person for the Labour young people. So I met her a few times before. She was really nice. She made sense, and just watching her unfold from the first term, year by year, just seemed like man, you just falling into the trap. You know, like you've lost your spirit. Like, you know, it's like you was, hey, what's going on there? You said this even before you were in the politics. You know, before you were in government, and then like things just seemed different, and I just thought like the Labour Party over these last few years have lost their soul or lost their sense of direction in regards to, like, you know, really fighting for the working class. I don't know what they can do to get that back, to be honest, but I mean, you know, our people have voted for them and put our trust in them, so hopefully she can return that some way, somehow down the line, and well, you know, hopefully she can really take a chunk out of that child poverty stuff that she was talking about before she got in. If she can really like say like, I made a big difference, I chucked all this to that, then, you know, doing it, you know, making doctor's visits free, you know, like you know, $10 is still heaps. You know, like people, that's just $10, and that's still heaps for a family of 5. You know, like you know, like it's, you need to make it free. You know, you need to make transport free. You need to make lunches free, and all those sort of things there.
Oh, the free lunch is a big one.
Yeah.
They do it in some schools.
Yeah.
That's a big one too, because that's another worry you don't have to worry about.
Yeah. I know. That's another cost.
Yeah.
Family of 5, you know, that's like you're saving like $50, $60 a day, not having to feed your kids or family of 5. Definitely rolled that out a bit better. I know there was a bit 50-50 got rolled out, and, you know, they were sending like food to places that people weren't eating them. You know, like they didn't read the room, they didn't read their customer see. So they were sending food, but hopefully they send that at full time and full scale. Definitely, yeah. Hopefully a lot more is done in that regards, and to cut the cost on a lot of things.
Yeah.
Man, like, you know, shopping's heavy as well. So.
Oh, it is, and petrol, like all that kind of stuff. Man, even, I don't know what, they try to bring in competition for the supermarkets, you know, because that's another thing, the prices of groceries. Like, they need to introduce more supermarkets in New Zealand for competition, bring those prices down.
Oh, no, there's monopolies.
I know Costco. Have you been to Costco?
Yeah, I went once. I haven't been back. Yeah.
So I think they've put the prices of Pack and Save and Countdown down in
over there
in Westgate.
Oh,
I think those prices are cheaper than all the other.
True. I've never been to the Pack and Save or the Countdowns actually.
So it is working.
Oh yeah. Better check out Pack and Save then.
Yeah.
Better check it out, because I haven't been there. I just like Costco. Yeah.
I mean,
back to Lincoln Road.
Yeah, they can do heaps of stuff. They can do that. The one that I'm scared of is because it's I think National Party, if they come in, they want to push the retirement age up to 67, 67, but it might not be a bad idea because it's hard when you think of retiring and your pension's going to go on your rent. And by that time, your rent's going to be astronomical. So you probably have no pension for people that have to rent.
Yeah.
So even with people that own homes, like the interest rates will be
well, still
the same thing. But it's better than having to pay rent, right? Because you've got your what do you call it, KiwiSaver. But that's gonna keep you next 10 years? 10 years maybe. Yeah. You've still got your KiwiSaver and your pension. So it's better to own your own home when you retire. So that should actually be the goal for people my age. Yeah. You know, just so you're safe. Otherwise, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, that's a scary thing for me. Like, and maybe 67 is a good thing because you can work a little bit longer and save up some more. Yeah, you know?
A lot of my family as well. They're retired, but they're still working.
Yeah, see,
they feel like they have to. I mean, actually, they have to because they get the pension and they still have to top that up with some work. So a lot of my families are not even retired yet. They'll probably still work till whenever. I don't know whether it's a cultural thing or that they need to, but they're still working there. So, yeah, exactly that.
It defeats the purpose.
Yeah. Of pension. Yeah, exactly. You're meant to retire, enjoy your retirement, but you're like, I feel like I still got to work. Got to pay this bill, pay that bill, this and that. Like, all good. But it defeats the purpose of having that.
Yeah. So there's a whole lot of things that are coming up like that. Even I don't know if you heard about the 4-day week they're trying to do around the world.
Yeah. I think
they're trying to push the 4-day week.
Yeah, we had that big discussion at work one year.
2020
lockdown. There was a big discussion on the board. There's some research that's come out in Sweden that you're more productive in a 4-day week. And I was like, I like this. I like this. I never ever got anywhere, but it was on the table during that lockdown period. Like to give everyone that Friday off. Yeah. And
but they've got studies now. Yeah. Because they've actually in America they've assigned all these companies to work 4 days for 3 months. Yeah. And just get the results
from that.
So the results were that the productivity didn't go down at all. Yeah. Because you only had it was interesting because if you worked in the office, a 4-day week meant the number of meetings went down. Yeah. Because you got no time for meetings anymore. So you just do the work.
There's not the 2-hour meetings.
Yeah.
Cut it off the 2-hour meetings.
Yeah, because the thought was that it was so interesting because a 5-day week meant that you could fit heaps of meetings.
Meetings in a day.
Yeah. But now you got on 4 days. Yeah. They cut all these meetings out and just did the work. Yeah. Because they found out that a lot of meetings they were doing were a waste of time. Yeah.
Send it an email.
Like a lot of like you probably experienced that. Like, why are we doing this meeting? You just send me email.
Many.
You know?
Many. Just recently too, many. It's like losing energy in those meetings, man. Like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, exactly.
But it does make sense because when I've got 2 hours in a day to finish something, I feel like I've done more than those 2 hours that I have done the whole rest of the day. I've done more work then than I ever done during the whole day. I'm like, yeah.
So the COVID lockdowns around the world have actually taught people that they can do this. Yeah. Because they were forced to do it. Now they understood. Oh man, so it's all about the productivity, right? So what you're doing is that. Because me, I'm like a morning person, so my brain is on 9 to lunchtime, and then it starts falling off after 2 o'clock.
Tapering off,
and then I'm brain dead by 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, so I'm no good for anyone at work after 3,
Is that why the text came after 3? Is that why the message from you came after 4 o'clock?
That's all my Facebook posts come up after.
This guy's alive again. He's alive again.
But I believe that because now I feel, man, that's so right. Because man, when my brain is on. But then it's funny because when I was working from home, my brain turns on again after dinner, so maybe 9 to like 11, 12.
Yeah, that's like me. Actually.
And then I'm just working hard those times.
Yeah.
Because my brain's on again. Yeah. So I'm like that. I'm the morning guy and then the night guy. Like in the between that.
The 20 minutes after halftime and the 20 minutes before halftime, you're like you're on the bench. You're on the bench.
That's right, and like a lot of people are like that. Yeah. And a lot of people might be opposite. People might not be morning people. Want to sleep in and work better in the afternoon.
Yeah, you're right.
So I think what they're trying to do is get the productivity high in these times of certain people because everybody's different. You know, you give people flexibility when to work, you're gonna get that productivity.
Yeah,
you know.
And I totally agree. That's in our team at work, like because we are flexible, so we don't have to be in the office at a particular time. Like, if you can send emails, do reports at home, do it at home. If you need to be in the office, come to the office. So then a lot of the time we're on the road, so I'm not even going to the office. I'm going towards appointment with our clients.
Yeah.
And that's what COVID has taught us. Like, you got to work smarter. You know, you're predicted. Use your time smarter. You know, if I travel to work from Te Atatu to Manuku, if I was to start at 8:30, like I'll spend at least an hour 10, an hour 20 in traffic doing nothing. So that's unproductive at all.
Yeah.
Whereas if like what I do now, 8 o'clock, I'm sending emails, writing stuff
from home.
And then from home.
Yeah.
And then I'll leave. If I need to leave, I'll leave 10, 11.
When there's no traffic.
And
Exactly.
then I'm go to appointment, and then I'm like leave before 2, like straight home. So yeah, definitely. I feel my productivity is good like that. But if I have to go to work like 8:30, leave at 5, man, I'm tapering throughout the day. Like, man, my energy levels, my focus is tapering throughout the day, especially when I have to go to clock in just for the sake of clocking in.
Right.
Like, for no other reason, just to clock in.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to be here. I don't need to write anything.
Yeah, that's stupid, eh?
I'm like, if COVID has taught us anything, is this nature of, which is based on the manufacturing hours, like where they had to be there because then they had to run machines. Like, that's not how we should run. You know, it shouldn't be that way.
The other benefit is is climate change. Because if you stop production, if production becomes 5 days and then it comes 4 days, there's 1 day less of production, which means, you know, the energy, pollution energy,
waste,
you know.
energy waste and stuff.
Yeah. So that's one benefit. One argument against it is the inequality between jobs.
Yeah.
So obviously office jobs can do that. Yeah. But teachers and people that need to work every day, you know?
Yeah.
Then they probably won't work their jobs because they know they have to work 5 days where the office people work 4 days. So there's that.
Yeah.
But then the argument against that argument was, well, these jobs where you have to work every day, you're actually working. You're constantly working. So it's not like you can slack off. Sort of thing. Like for a teacher, you can't really.
No, you can't really just leave because you got to teach.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. Yeah. So that's the difference. But what the inequality of it mean that people won't go for those jobs, knowing that they have to work 5 days.
Yeah.
Because the alternative will be, well, school's gonna stop on Thursday.
Yeah.
Monday to Thursday at school.
Yeah.
And then,
yeah.
So there's all these little things there. But it's interesting.
But I do think in some jobs like for me, like literally, like work doesn't stop. Like I might stop doing like actual, like if I need to do a task to complete a task, I'll do that if that's what work is measured by. But like in the car, I'm like thinking, how can I do things? Will this do tomorrow? What can I do this and that? So my mind's like constantly thinking, problem solving, like one of my clients' issues. Like it's forever like, oh, who can I talk to or who can I message? And then I'm like, at night time, I'm Facebooking people that are, oh, this guy does this, or this guy works there. Hey, bro, can you, like, you know, I'm forever like just kind of like problem solving. But I don't know whether that's just me as a personality trait or that's the nature of work we do in regards to youth work or frontline crisis work. That's where our mentality sits. But it just seems to be an ongoing conversation in my mind. How can I do things better tomorrow when I wake up?
Do you suffer from burnout sometimes? Because another benefit of the 4-day week was that people get less burnout, less stress. Yeah. You know, and the mental health is pretty good, and they get time for their families too. And the 3-day weekend is enough time to get things sorted at home. You know, and relax as well. Yeah. Because the 2-day weekend, it's hard to actually do something with your family. Like you can, but it's not enough time, no.
Yeah, not meaningful,
it's not meaningful way, and then
it's kind of like rushed there.
Just kind of rush, and if there's events on, then that's the day gone.
It's like weddings on, 21st on.
Yeah, and then next minute is Monday, back to work.
Oh, recovery Sunday, you missed Sunday.
Yeah, that kind of thing. So with your work with the kids and that, is it times where do you ever get stressed?
Yeah, I definitely do. I definitely do.
Like with knowing a kid's situation and then feeling it, then, man.
It's definitely on a couple of levels. I think now that I'm a bit more experienced, I think in the early days, I took it on a lot. Like I took on a child or young person situation and let it sit with me a lot. And then that impacted me a lot because it was kind of like I felt I was part of his journey as well as his disappointments and successes. So I wore that a lot, and I got to say I burnt out a lot in the early days. And plus, because at the same time when I worked the Salvation Army job, that wasn't really a job. It was kind of like my volunteering, but I was getting paid through like lodging and food and stuff. Whereas during the day, I would go work at the marae through the prison. So I'd pick up prisoners from the prison and get them their accommodation, wins, food and stuff sorted. So I'll do that in the day, come home, Salvation Army. That period, even though it was a beautiful part of my learning in regards to youth work, it was the most stressed, the most burnt out, the most like loose I had been with my well-being I've ever been then. So I had no strategies. I didn't call on any of my support. I was just glad to have a job because before then I had gone to study urban planning. So 2 years I studied urban planning at uni, and then because I got out of prison, so I did 5.5 in prison for GBH, went into uni, did 2 years at the architecture school, and then I couldn't find any jobs because of my record.
Oh, so you went through the whole thing?
Was it?
You went through the whole course and graduated?
Yeah, so I got my master's in planning.
Oh, wow.
And planning, but those jobs were in consultancies, consultancies and councils, and some iwi bodies, and none of them were hiring. There's a part in hiring process where they say, do you have a criminal record or not? And if you say no, another open field opens and you move on. And if you say yes, a massive open field moves on. Explain what it is, put it in there, what happened, why I was sent to prison, why I was charged, the whole story. So what happened actually, I had on my desktop, I had saved like the what I always write. So after the first two, I was like, shit, I better save it. And so I saved it, and so I think I applied for 30-something jobs at different consultancies from Whangarei to Invercargill, doing planning. And then, so I just would, I got a criminal conviction, drag out from Word to that empty field and put it in, and just tell the whole story. It was like maybe like 800 words, because I think most of them were 1,000-word limits in the open field, so it was 800. And then I didn't get any jobs. I was pretty, because like my idea was like, if I get out of prison, like I want to do this to do some positive things. And I thought if I got did some more study, because I'd done some study inside with Massey University. Get out, sweet. I'll get some postgrad stuff done. I'll get a job, or it'd be sweet.
Because you're doing the hard yards.
Yeah, hard yards. Then I didn't get no bite backs, not even a secondary, not even like I can come to the interviews. So I ended up being unemployed for 3 months after I graduated, and I was at WINS. So I went to WINS, started getting payments while looking for jobs, and then I ended up. I was willing to take any job. So a friend of mine in Wellington.
Not even the council.
Like I wouldn't even get even I had some like mates inside there that were trying to link me in with the planning department, but I would never get past that application stage.
You know how fuck that sounds? Because this is local government. They run the government runs the prisons now. Was it private then? Because it was private.
Yeah, it was private. Right, yeah. Mariden was private then, and Serco.
It's not anymore.
Yeah, no, I was just Serco. Manukau.
Okay. Yeah.
Woody prison.
Yeah.
It's the last.
So it's rehab, it's rehabilitation, right? And then so you can when you get rehabilitated, you get released and you go out into the workforce.
Yeah.
And then the council says no.
Yeah. I wasn't even getting the no. You know how you get like the stock standard like response emails?
Oh, okay.
Like it's like just what everyone gets, like, oh, sorry, you haven't been successful. I never received the callback. I never received, I'll come in and have an interview. So I never even got to the interview stage. So I just, like, one part of me wanted to lie. But I just didn't want to go out like that. It's like I don't need to lie. I've done my time. I've worked hard.
Mm.
This doesn't define me. This is just part of my story. Blah blah blah. But never ever got a break. And then
So what's the point of prison then? You know, what's the point? I mean, that's what prison's for, to rehabilitate and go back into society.
yeah,
It's a change prison, and then everyone says no. It's like, what the fuck? Like,
how are they just
what's the whole point?
doors closing, and exactly because when you're unemployed, you start to think that it's like fuck, this world doesn't like me.
Because that's not you're not isolated story. There's heaps there.
It keeps happening. It's even happening now. Like even for minor jobs, sometimes you just kind of get the back door shut on you. Not to say that like they're minor jobs, but like with different type of jobs as well. It's still happening now. Like it really comes down to who you know when it comes to like your record and whether they believe you. To be honest, but to try to get through in a normal, like you don't know anyone, it's always hard. But yeah, like you said, like the prison is meant to be the punishment. Everything else after that,
Yeah.
you know, that's not meant to be even a thing, but it is a thing. And you know, a lot of people, like me, at that stage, I was kind of like, fuck it, I'll just take it on the chin, whatever. And then, yeah, it got to a point where I was like, fuck, this is getting pretty 50-50 because my mum, you know, like, needs to support home a bit more. And then it was just like a friend just called through out of nowhere. It's like, hey, there's a job going down in Wellington. And I was like, what the fuck in Wellington? Fuck. I gotta go to Wellington. And so that's how I ended up in Wellington.
What was that job?
That was that Salvation Army job.
Oh, yeah.
So Salvation Army in the Marae job. So I got Marae job was paying the bills, paying me, which I got to send back to mum. And then Salvation Army was paying my lodging. So I didn't need to have any cost at home. So I was all just earning at the Marae and just sending it home really. And did that for 14 months. And yeah, it was a really massive experience. I don't know, how did it start? Where did the question go? Sorry, also I think I lost my journey.
That's all right, because I was going to ask you, like, do you still have your knowledge on urban planning and all that? Or was it too long ago?
Nah, it's too long ago now, I reckon. I think I probably lost a lot of it. And my urban planning stuff kind of like transformed because I didn't know urban planning was what it was meant to be. A good friend of mine, he's from West, he recommended it to me. It was actually a good course in the end, but when I first started it, it kind of was different to what I imagined it to be. But it was all about resource consents and you know, environmental
getting
reports.
around the resource consent, how to do it, doing resource consent plans.
So it was all based around that stuff. But then I met I met Bruce Haka. He was the past deputy mayor of Auckland. It was the guy from the Waitaka there. He was the mayor. Bruce Haka was the deputy. So he was a lecturer on the course. So when I first started, it was all based around reports and stuff. And then I was kind of, we're not really feeling this. And then Bruce Haka, he had taken the stream of paper that talked about like political history of planning. And I had done most of my undergrad in prison in history and geography. So they kind of fitted where I wanted to go. So by the second year, because the planning masters was a 2-year condensed version of the bachelor's. Bachelor's was 4, masters was 2. And so it was a condensed course. It was pretty hard out. And then the last year, Bruce came on board, but his course was the whole year. So it wasn't just one in first and another one second. His was first and second. And it was all based around just like political theories around planning, history of planning, and all that sort of stuff. So my thesis ended up becoming more of a historical review of planning rather than a research about planning instruments that we could use to better infill housing in the city, which most of the kids did.
So did you learn all about Auckland history? The history of the planning of Auckland? Like,
a little bit, yeah.
Like how they separated, the areas, north, south, east, west. And it's more to be like where they put the factories there. So you get these areas where they're industrial areas like Rosebank Road. Yeah. Rosebank Road and all these other areas. The back of Swanson where your gym is. Yeah. Those areres. So it's interesting there because you put those factories there, then certain people that live around the area will go there.
Yeah.
So when they put all the factories down in South Auckland, obviously all the Samoans, all the islanders going to go from town to these areas.
Yeah.
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 So, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what you put it. Like, it was, first of all, it was space where they could place the factories. And then where was it away from the valuable lands? Because no factory wanted to be built in the most valuable land. And so they sent them down to the most cheapest land we can buy. And when you talk about Rosebank, it's swamp.
Right.
You talk about Rosebank, it's a whole swamp. So there was the most affordable land you could send any factories to. And as a business owner, that's great because you don't have to pay overheads.
Yeah.
So you're sending all the factories down there. So you got factories like Reams was named something else previously. There was there was Cadbury when it was pumping back then before it became Mondelez now. All those big factories that employed big Pacific Island families all went there because the land was cheap. It was a swamp and all businesses could flourish because they could make as much money as they can. And that's what you say, like, what happened built up was pockets of Polynesia, pockets of Maori coming from the urban areas. So my parents worked down there as well. That's how we ended up in Avondale. A lot of them come from other factories in South Auckland, Niuean as well. But yeah, some definitely inequalities and inequities in how things unfolded in our city back then. There's no factories in in the central city around that time. A lot of them in the 70s, 80s, they all moved out southwest and similar in other cities, similar Napier, Hastings, Moerewa, Wellington.
Same thing, yeah.
Same thing happened. Puridoa had the biggest factory down there, and all of the Polynesians moved to Puridoa for that factory, which is still there today. Mitsubishi is still there today, so they all moved down there, and that's why Puridoa came to be, really.
Yeah.
Had all those factories and state houses. Around the factories, state houses followed, and yeah.
I read Damon Salisa,
his
book about and he talks about how, like, it's funny when you go up and see Auckland as a whole, it's really segregated, right? And so where all the Asians are, where all the Palangis are, like,
where the South Africans are.
South Africans are. You look at North Shore where all the beaches are and the hills, because there's nice views on the hills. So, of course, those are the best places to live. Yeah. And you can see who lives there. South Auckland's flat. I think Manukau is pretty flat over there. Yeah. So that's why the land's cheap. Huh? Out west you got Titirangi was big hills. There's hills. Yeah. So all the houses up there, that's views down to the city. So obviously there's going to be the more expensive
pieces of land.
Yeah. But he talks about how it's okay for the islanders to go live in other areas, but the Palangis won't come live in their area. Yeah. They will never. They will never come down. But it's all right for us. It's all right for Indians to live anywhere because they can go live anywhere. Yeah. Asians have their place where they are. Check. Asians are Howard in those areas, but he talks about how Indians can live anywhere. Like, we have that mentality too. We can live anywhere, but we are where we are because that's where our jobs are. So he talks about how Auckland's pretty segregated.
Yeah. Well, it happens from the get-go, like, that segregation of people, and it's, I don't know whether it's a classist action, whether it's being based around class or
economics,
or whether it's race. But man, it's definitely segregated, and it's been in the works for a long time, and so, like, being from Avondale, it's a funny situation at the moment because half of Avondale is gentrified, half is still working class. It's a funny place to be in at the moment because you see a lot of gentrification happening. You see a lot of new housing, a lot of apartments popping up, and then
especially at the top there, on the hill.
Yeah, at the top.
I see another hill. Yeah, nice view.
yeah. So all that area is kind of like, man, there's like that area is like all upper class nowadays, middle class, and then just down below is still, still working class, and just those changes and. Like, so the idea was to bust down all these, like, state houses. Kainga Ora was meaning to, like, sell off this great land and get more money back for it and build more houses and bring the people back in. But I mean, like it's proven that hasn't happened. Like those people haven't moved back in. They've moved a lot of our communities, and this has happened in Glen Innes as well when they did it there. The idea was to clear the land, expensive land, sell it off, and then return it to the community so people can move back in. But what has happened, people have moved out of the area. Like there's evidence with the Tamaki head girl one year. She was travelling from Mangere back to Tamaki College because she was meant to move back into her home. They got busted down. Didn't end up moving, ended up just living in Mangere, but still wanting to come back to Tamaki. And then shows the iniquities of that whole process which has happened, and it's just changed the face of the communities. Like Avondale's definitely underneath the change at the moment where people have been moved out and they aren't returning. And so you're moving a whole track of a community out, which just kills the heart of what makes the place what it is when you move in a whole different part of the community, and then all the livelihoods, the connections, the sense of belongings, and then you have people staying in places they don't identify with. And when you're a young person, and you're in a new place that you don't respect, that you don't have history to, you're less likely to respect the place that you're in. For example, if I was staying in Avondale still,
it's changing around you.
Yeah, and then I would never ever feel like ram raiding or stealing or anything from Raised Dairy, which is the hood dairy. I'll never touch it. But if you move someone from your community to another community, they're not going to feel the same about that dairy. They don't know the dairy. They don't even, how your neighborhood dairy, you know the owner?
Yeah.
I know Ray. Ray knows me. Yeah. So you would never ever do anything bad to your neighborhood because you don't shit where you sleep. This is your hood. You die for it. And that's the way I was brought up in Avondale. This is my hood. 828 is where I was born and raised. I'll never, offend it. But then when you move a whole chunk of people out to areas they don't identify with, it's just another real reason, another excuse to get them to, disrespect the place. But like, nah, man, I'm not disrespecting where I live, man. I'll go over the hill, do it in Mount Ruskell, or do it in Mount Albert, but I'm not going to do it in Avondale or whatever, head out west or whatever. But that's the sort of things that happens when you try to, like, in your mind, trying to remove a whole community with the idea of making more money to build more homes. But the execution of how they looked, it hasn't happened. You've got new communities there that have moved from somewhere else, and then you've got these other communities that have been kicked out. And usually what has happened in the central, if you get moved out the closer to the city, 15-10 minutes from the city, if you get moved from there, you're either getting moved deep south or deep west. So you're not going anywhere near where you used to be. And so a lot of the times you have these communities out west and south there. Like, bro, I'm not from this area, so I want to, do burnouts on the local field. Do burnouts on my bike or the car on the local field because I don't care about it. Yeah.
Have you seen, like, do you sometimes go back to Avondale and see your old neighborhood?
I definitely. So my uncle came over yesterday for Sunday lunch, and he came over to my auntie was there from Australia, and then he stays in a old people's house in Green Lane, and he doesn't get out much. And I was just about to jump on the motorway, and he goes, "Oh, can we drive through to see Avondale?" Oh yeah. And I said, "Oh well, do you want to go to Kelston way, or Glendine way, Kelston, or do you want to go through Rosebank?" "Oh no, we'll go past Glendine that way." So we drove all the way through Glendine just to give him a view of it, and he wanted to see Avondale. I was like, "Man, I want to see what Avondale's like." And then when he got up to our property, by the Avondale, because we used to stay by the Avondale Police Station.
Oh yeah.
All these buildings up there near Green Jade. Shout out to Green Jade.
Yeah.
best takeaways, hands down. Say something. So just down the road from Green Jade takeaways, and now it's all those new buildings up. And he was like, "Man, this feels like a prison." Driving down, it's like there. Like there's you can't even see like up the hill, the sunrise, or down the hill, down to the Waitakere Ranges. It's like
just the wall.
Wall. It's like, for me, it felt like I was in like the Maze Runner. You know, the Maze Runner where it's all just big walls and you got to like. And so yeah. Long story short, went through and then just to hear my uncle like, "Oh man, it's changed right now." It's like, yeah, then having to roll past my old place, and then the whole block's been like emptied out there. And it's like, I don't think anyone that owned a house or that lived in a home is staying in these new apartments. I don't think anyone, not my neighbors. I don't know where my neighbors. They were pretty crazy. I don't know where my neighbors would stay anyway. They're pretty crazy. But good people nonetheless. Though. Yeah, so definitely go back. Always. So that's what happens. So my mum, she does her shopping in Avondale. My dad does the shopping in Avondale. They don't even shop in Seattle.
Oh, really?
They go back to the tire plantation, go back to the dairies, go back to... They do all this stuff in Avondale and Niuean. That's where their livelihoods is. My dad in the TAB in Niuean, but that's his community. So then they go up to like, go shopping at the Niuean countdown. Shopping, oh yeah, Man Albert and Pack and Save. They don't even go, because that's what they knew. 40, 50 years of their life was that area, so they still come back there. Yeah.
When I was a kid, man, I remember my parents went to Avondale all the time, and I can't remember if it was because of the it was because of the Free Guys. We went to the Free Guys when it was there.
Yeah.
We always went there. I don't know if it was because it was cheap or...
Yeah.
But we went all the way from Ranui to...
Yeah, Free Guys was the cheapest spot. Everyone that I knew drove from out of places. Yeah. My family did.
I must be there because I didn't know. I was young.
Yeah.
But I remember, you know where the Shen's takeaway?
Yeah.
They used to be Homestead. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Fuck,
I was little.
Yeah. I was little too, and man, do you remember the food?
Yeah, it was in the steel plates with the foil.
Yeah, the foil.
Oh, definitely.
And the potatoes.
Yeah, potatoes.
Potatoes are
but it was nice.
Man.
I remember it as being nice. I never. Then it, for some reason, just disappeared. It just disappeared out of there. What happened to this mean ass feed?
Yeah.
But now they've got a KFC there now, which is probably the biggest thing that's happened in Avondale for a long while.
Because what happened to the Carl's Jr.?
It wasn't getting much patronage. But I never went to their Carl's Jr., to be honest. I never really went there. But I do go to KFC. But
see, I can't understand why McDonald's is still the number one kind of... McDonald's is everywhere. And all their stores are flash. Because they're getting the... And people line up for hours on the drive-thru.
Exactly.
I don't understand.
Man, I don't know. It's not even tasty. Like,
it's not.
I love my food, but I don't like go out of my way to go... Like, it's the last option. Like, if there's nothing else open, you got to go to McDonald's, you know? So it's like, I didn't go there for one purpose. I want to make my way there.
I mean, I rate Carl's Jr. better than McDonald's.
I don't know why I didn't go to Carl's Jr. I never knew why I didn't really go there.
Or KFC.
Yeah. I would definitely go KFC.
The KFC is one that can never erase from Islanders.
Definitely, man.
Take out this thing, fish and chips.
I mean, not all KFCs created the same, dude. Not all KFCs created the same, dude. I found out.
Oh yeah.
I was like, the not being sad to my wife's area, but Southmore KFC, no. No, I've been there multiple times, like, and dry, or they're just like, man, it's just the batter tastes like chemical or something, but never. Yeah.
Oh, I hate a dry KFC chicken, man.
Oh man, like when a thigh is dry, something's wrong.
Yeah.
When a thigh is dry, something's wrong. But there's other places that are good in Southmore, but they're KFC. But nah, man. Just in case my wife sees us and like, hey, she's a proud Manirua resident, previous anyway. Yeah.
So, with your work, like, you work out south. Do you see a big difference between the kids out south and out west?
No. I've been asked that question.
Yeah.
They're the same.
Yeah.
Like, for good or for bad, they're the same. Like, they're, no. Like, they have the same story, just different areas. Same personalities. Same behaviors. There's not. To be honest, there's not too much of a difference. Like I wouldn't be able to say like if one's rowdier than another, because these guys are just as rowdy as these guys, or one guy's are more respectful than another. But young people having journeys is the same in South Auckland as in West. What I do notice about South Auckland is what I've told a few others that South Auckland seems to have a lot more going on for young people.
Yeah, I think so too.
Like, man, they just got a lot of cool stuff going on, a lot of things popping off here and there, and then
they got nice food out there. For starters.
Yeah, to be honest, honestly, man, like I'm not even sad to say that, but West need to up their game on all fronts, like takeaways and bakeries. We need to up our game.
Or eating spots,
eating spots, like we need a really good Vietnamese spot. To be honest, like the one in Niuean's alright.
Oh, right, the one where the bank is SBA.
SP. It's all right.
You know, when you said that, I knew exactly what you're talking about.
I was like, yeah, it's all right, but like I wouldn't. Yeah, another one, I wouldn't like travel to like
Yeah.
have a function there or something. But
I'll be going to that. I'll be going to that place in Mount Albert. Everyone goes the
Momo tea, yeah, Momo tea.
That's a
and,
popular place, eh?
Yeah, Momo tea and the
So I think what
barbecue.
happens, they open late, eh? So
2 a.m., 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah. They've been open on for a while. And the one next to it that everyone kind of goes to as well. Yeah, I've definitely been a fan because, you know, being from Maris is just down the road. So playing footy, you used to go there quite a lot. But it seems like everyone's going there every... So I don't go there too often now because every time I walk in, I'm like, oh, man. But now there's a new one.
Yeah.
Like, opened up further down where the liquor store was.
Oh.
And that seems a little bit quiet. Same sort of food. Nice too.
yeah, probably the same guy.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's another brother.
Oh, because they're fighting, eh?
Yeah,
The two brothers, eh? Next door.
So I don't know if it's a third brother that's open this one.
Yeah.
Or the second brother's open another one. But
Yeah.
But it's exactly the same, so I wouldn't be surprised. But I've been going there lately just because there are less people in there. So yes, we sometimes have our charity meeting at that spot. Yeah.
Yeah, right, man. West needs to up the game on the food area, man. Cause
Like, I think I've gone through a lot of the takeaways out these ways, but man, like...
I think it's the trust. I think that's the problem with the trust.
Yeah.
Because they've got the monopoly on alcohol, it doesn't allow people come in and open up nice places.
Yeah.
Because they know they have to battle the trust. So they won't open places here.
Makes sense, yeah. And so that's why we end up with limited nice food. Because of the trust. Well, what's your thoughts about those trusts? Because I knew they were up and down about voting it in or voting it out.
Yeah, I think it seems to me like they've got a lot of money stacked up in assets.
Yeah.
You know, and it seems to me like with the charity work they do, the money they give out, it's nothing compared to what they actually have.
Yeah.
So even if they lose the alcohol, they've still got enough money to give out that kind of money.
The grants and stuff.
Yeah. Still do the grants. So to me, it seems like the alcohol thing isn't the issue. To me, I think they're just holding on to it because I know they want some power over it or they want, you know?
Yeah.
But it doesn't do nothing to, it won't hurt anything,
Yeah.
what they do, what they give to the community. Yeah.
Yeah,
That was my thoughts on it. And what it does is because they got the power over it and the control over it, they won't allow for competition. So what happens is alcohol prices are higher in West Auckland than anywhere else in Auckland. Yeah. And we can't get nice venues.
Places to have a meal and enjoy a drink and stuff like that.
Yeah, because if someone wants to come here, open up a nice place, you've got to talk to the trust and go through all these hoops and no, never mind, I'll just go over here. I'll just go outside the trust and open my store here. Yeah. My nice, that's why you got nice places like food places just outside.
Just outside. It's like they just got over the border to stop all the red TP. Far out.
Yeah, man. Because we're stuck with Hanger and all that. Those kind of
these are the stock standard places.
Places, but they're all owned by the trust and all that. So, you know, but unless they, I don't know, get real people that know what they're doing about bars and because I'm a big fan of a bar being a hub of the community.
Yeah.
But it's not because you can't even sit at the bar.
You
can't even come in and have a drink, talk to the bartender, and talk to the people around you. You got to actually come in a group because you can't even sit at the bar.
Yeah.
You know, it's unsociable.
Yeah.
It's not even. You know, I think they don't want anyone to talk to the bartender. You know, and I get it because if you put chairs at the bar, then it's in the way of people paying their money. But that's not the point.
Yeah. I don't.
Yeah, but that's just my little rant for out west, you know, my little gripe for west.
No, see, I agree. I totally agree because you know I'm a bit of a foodie as well, so
man,
always looking for spots and why spots aren't there, and like it's always like so you know when I mentioned the chicken nibbles, like I'm a chicken nibble guy.
Oh yeah,
and I've always bought chicken nibbles ourselves.
Yeah,
like you know, Maori, Utara, Manurewa.
But now that place,
was like, man, where did this come from? It was like Eldorado.
Oh shit,
like some gold here.
I'm gonna try it now.
No, it's just a combination of really good and it's moist. So I'm like these guys have treated this chicken with respect. You know, it's given the time to put it in a brine or buttermilk or something. But I've always been a fan of the one in Mangere. By the hospital, and because it's similar, but then I had the one over here when we first opened up. I bought it because they had like my 25 piece pack. I was like, oh yeah, that's like got a heaps for the boys, like 2 to 3 each. Man, when I ate, I was like, oh man, and all the boys like, oh, so now we're kind of inside jokers, like how, because we've tried like Burger King, we've tried other places.
Yeah.
Like, see, we should have just stuck to pizza and bloody fucking nibbles. We should have just ate cheese on, our pizza and nibbles, value pizzas and pack of nibbles, man. And like we've tried like takeaways, try to reward the boys, at the hut barbecue, that other hut barbecue in Messi. And all the boys,
Oh,
leave, all the boys leave disappointed. They're like, man, see, we should have just went to sit at the hub and eat the pizza and eat our nibbles, man. That's way better than this place. It's like, sorry, boys. So now we just pizza and nibbles is our thing, It's kind of like, oh yeah, that's a reward. Because our sessions are more like a youth night drop-in, really. To be honest, like the fighting's one part of it. I mean, the martial arts and Muay Thai is one part of it, but a lot of the big part of it is their fellowship and their time and their space to enjoy each other's company. So afterwards, like we meant to finish 7:30 at night and kids go home or whatever. But man, the boys are just hanging there playing b-ball till 9:30 and
really?
just like, man, just kind of like, boys got to get you home. Mum's texting the phone, where are you? And so so just that food and their time together just become an important part of like creating that fellowship and brotherhood and just kind of trusting each other as young people to be in each other's lives in a positive way, just because we've had to ask a few boys to sadly leave.
Oh, how come?
Because of fighting.
Oh, yeah.
And not listening and just fighting. And so, one of them has come back because, we don't kick it out forever. If you're doing good, you're doing well, and you're learning, come back, and one's come back, and then one of the boys isn't. So I don't think he's coming back because he's kind of chosen his path. But I mean, we're always there anyway. If he comes back, the door's always open. There's not a closed door policy; it's open door policy. But so that's can't all win with all of them, So hopefully, maybe next year or whatever he comes back, or maybe something we've taught him down the line in life. Pulls them back from the edge, and
it's all about planting that seed, eh? Plant that seed and hopefully things will turn out good.
Yeah, hard on, and a young man with a planted seed is better than nothing planted at all, So hopefully one day, one season, he'll figure it out. Oh, this is what these guys were talking about. Oh, this guy's he did mean. Oh, she should have listened to him at first. So hopefully he's able to do that, but. Just just blessed and privileged to be in these boys space, being an ex-convict, it's never, the paperwork to get in front of our young people is not easy, so I've had to work hard, deservedly so, brother, deservedly so.
Because that experience you had, being in jail and coming out and having trying to get a job from what you studied, that's experience that you can give to someone, like, because you've been through it. Yeah. You've been there, done that. Like, that, you don't want any kid to go through, the beginning of that. But because you understand it. You understand the system now. So that's something in the background that you give to the kids with your support and inspiration and all that. So that's cool, man.
Yeah, hard on. And so it's something like I don't like wear it on my. I don't wear it like if time and if timing and the situation arise that the story needs to be told and the message needs to be told, I'll share it. But if time's not ready, then I won't. Because there's a balance between telling the story and glorifying the idea of that journey. What had happened is, and this is pretty much at the core of why I work in this spaces. Me and my mates got into a fight, and then someone got seriously hurt. But at that time, fighting was natural. Like growing up, it's kind of like, oh yeah, these guys fight these guys, or this group fights this group. It's just what it is growing up. And then I didn't see the negative part of that. I wasn't too involved in it. I know my mates I grew up with and my older brother, they were pretty involved in that sort of stuff. So I was grateful that to some degree they kind of put me at a arm's length, so I wasn't involved in too much troublesome stuff too much in the beginning. But in the end, like you put in a situation when your mate's getting hurt, you have to respond. And even though the response was not what you planned it to be. You didn't plan to hurt someone that bad. You're still involved. And so, I want to pass that idea that, like, violence is not okay in that form. Like, you can't tell a young person not to use violence, because you tell a person not to do something, he's more likely to do it. But if you tell them to listen in that, and then there's other ways that you can output your anger, they're more likely to choose the second option. It's like the anti-smacking bill. You tell them don't smack, what do they left to do? There's nothing left to do. But if you tell them don't use violence, they're like, oh, what do I do then? But if you're able to talk them through and to walk them along the journey of what violence looks like, what the repercussions can be if you use it in the wrong way, and then if you don't want to use violence, what's the options of managing your emotions to be able to say, hey, calm down, walk away, move on, keep pushing. And so that sort of lessons is what I hope to kind of pass on to these young people, because, too many of our young men are joining gangs, going to prison, hurting themselves, hurting others, and youth offending maybe falling, but if you pull apart the stats and then isolate the brown ones in there, it's not. And that's fact. Like, youth offending is falling. You pull out the brown, it's not. It's not so, even though Maka is focusing on the positive, like the protective factors of what it is to be a young person, teaching them about discipline, managing emotions, all that, but we still want to, that's, the cliff is here, we want to be here. And so if part of that story is here, part of the story is here, part of the story is here, part of the story is here, then there's multiple touch points at this journey that they can stop them from jumping off, falling off that cliff. And if we can import all their stories, all positive people in front of them before they get to that point, then we have a better chance of saving our young people from doing some pretty bad stuff. And so that's where the whole kind of total journey comes to, where we are at the moment, and where we want to go to in the future is pretty much based on that.
Because I believe, like, I remember there's a thing in the Bible about how you can be a warrior in the garden. You can't be a gardener in the wall. Yeah. Because you have to know certain things around, say a warrior, right? You know how to kill, you know all that bad stuff, but don't use it. But to not use it, because you know it. Yeah. It makes you. I think because you know it, makes you understand how hard life is and how you can, overcome anything. Because it's having that sort of like warrior mentality, right? And I think the warrior mentality with your boys is that you guys are training them to be fighters, like the Muay Thai, right? But it's not about being a killer. It's knowing. Yeah. It's knowing how to use the mental side of it, of overcoming.
Yeah, and that's. Well, that you just explained the idea of resilience, that's the idea of resilience right there, and that's what we're trying to input into our young people, is that idea, learning martial arts, being a warrior, knowing the art, and then figuring out the emotions attached to it so you can navigate it when you are put in these situations, So you're put in these situations, you don't know, all you're going to do is lash out, because that's what happens when you don't know shit. You're going to lash out. Lash out at others or lash out internally to yourself, But if you're trained to know this, know that, you understand the emotions attached to this, you're better able to respond, and that's evidence in a lot of people who have learned martial arts in whatever form, all those sort of beautiful things that fall out from learning those sort of things. Makes you just just put you on a better path of making some really better, good decisions in stressful times. Yeah.
Sure, brother.
Yeah.
Sure, man. So Christmas is coming. What's happening with you and the leadership and the family? And
so we got our graduation this Friday.
Oh yeah.
You're more than welcome to come through, man. It's not graduation, more so just a Christmas celebration. Just kept put on a feed for the boys, and having a few speeches and just kind of closing off for the year, sending them on the way on a positive note.
Oh, nice.
So this Friday,
And you guys gonna close until next January? or?
January 14th. Well,
Okay.
yeah, the second week of Jan, Monday. So we kick into our holiday program. So our holiday program will kick in on Monday, and then after the holiday program, another rest, and then we'll kick off again in first term. So yeah, that's what it looks like for Christmas. But the space is still open. So what we did last Christmas, we just left it open. Any of the boys want to go down, message. But this year we've got a lockbox, so the boys know the number. If you want to go down. Just keep it clean. And keep the toilet clean. Keep the toilet clean, boys. Yeah, so that's for the boys. So nothing too structured. Just hopefully they're all good over Christmas. My own fam, now I'm working through. So I'm on a skeleton crew out in Manukau. So just looking out for our clients in the community. Just being there if they ring up and they need things. Just being able to respond or tagging someone else to respond for that work. And then, go on a holiday probably later. My wedding anniversary in Waitangi weekend. Probably go on a holiday there, take wifey out and, just work magic on the Waitangi weekend, 8th anniversary, wedding anniversary. So shout out to my wife Lisa. 7. Renamed it 7. Yeah, that's about it, fools, man. How about yourself?
Me, I finish work next week, and then got no plans, eh? I think the boy wants to go on the plane down to see his cousins.
Oh yeah.
But we're not gonna go. But we're gonna send him down. So we're gonna have quiet time.
yeah. Nice.
Or just hang around Auckland. Not gonna go anywhere.
Is the podcast going on a break as well?
I think so. I wouldn't mind doing it, but I think everyone else will be on breaks. It'll be hard to get people on holiday, Christmas. Nah. I don't know. I'll put it out there because I'm keen to talk every day. Actually, that's just me, man. Like, we talked before how they also passed away, and it's just me now. I'm just holding the flag but it's been good because I really love it. I really love talking to people.
Yeah.
And if I can get them to come in and chat one-on-one and put it on the internet, hopefully, people can get inspired about the stories and that. I mean, I think the topic of mental health just comes up naturally. Like, I don't intend to talk about mental health, but it's just a thing. But it's cool because it's a big deal, especially in New Zealand.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And but it's good because I think just having a conversation, a long form conversation, is what we just did. Almost 2.5 hours.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
jeez.
I mean, no one's gonna give you that. No one's gonna give people that much time on any mainstream platform.
Yeah, definitely.
But this podcast is on a mainstream platform like Spotify.
Yeah.
It can come on the app on your TV, on your smart TV. Smart TV. So it's next to TV on NZ. It's next to all the.
Your shuttles.
But it's just because this podcast is all about representing West Auckland. So I'm sure I'll continue to do that. But I think over Christmas, spend time with the family and think about next year because I really want to do something different next year. Not just add on some more things with the podcast. I've got things in mind on the get done.
Oh, mean.
So onwards and upwards, man. Same as you guys.
I'll say same with this. I think we're all trying to level up because the more we level up, the better the impact in our communities and those listening. So definitely, and also just like to speak to, but also Isaiah. I think he's here. In many respects, he's sitting next to you at the table. He may not be here physically, but he's given his spirit to the talanoa that happens here. Not only previously, but also now. And I think a lot of the time, you're not alone. His conversations wouldn't happen if the previous ones didn't. And so I don't think I'll be here if it didn't happen previously. So, and secondly, just shout out to your team. And I'm always 100 when, because I've worked out in our South Auckland for the last 8 years. I'm a proud West. Everywhere I stand up at the wherever it is, man, I'm like, nah, man, I still say I'm from Avondale because, like, you know, like I didn't choose to lose Avondale. Actually, I didn't choose. My mum, house got, you know, busted down. You know, we lived in the house for 30 years. The council home wasn't our house, sadly. But I always say I'm from Avondale, and I'm always saying I'm West, so I represent West, and sometimes the lonely voice out there. And like, there's a couple of West Aucklanders that you should have on the show. That
Man.
I don't want to drop no names, but
tell me after. I'll get them.
They're proudly South Aucklanders now. You know, some of them are like, you know, Mangare's the promised land. You know who you are if you hear this, but you know he's born and raised out West. You know, so we got some West guys out there that have changed their flags, you know, no more, you know, no more flying the West Auckland flag, even though you were primary school, high school, and intermediate out here, you know.
It must be the nice food out there.
Oh, man, well, actually, his office is above the best barbecue place in Manga there, so, yeah. So I always, man, just proud when I hear people from the West, and then even like, because I had that, like, you know, a lot of, I always have that feeling that I owe. I know it's not a good one, but I always had that feeling. I've spilled blood on these streets, and I owe because of that. And so a lot of the times when I walk in this world, I always think about my community that I came from, and the community that I spilled blood on, you know, on the streets that we got up to no good on, and I always remember that just because it's where I'm from, and I want to do better than what I once did. And so being part of West Auckland and coming back and doing Maka Leadership in the heart of West Auckland is my return to the hood and giving back to a community I took from. And so that's why I'm proud when I hear yourself, the work that you guys do, and the network, and representing the voices of West Auckland. And what I really am happy about is, like, no lies, is like, I've seen podcasts and they have a certain people, cool people, but man, you got everyone. Fuck, honestly, like, you got like, and that's what I like, you know, like, you've opened the door. You haven't just chosen the well-spoken or the cool guys, you know. Not well-spoken, but well-spoken in the eyes of people in the cool arenas. You've just opened the floor to our community fully, without no regrets, without no doubts about who the community is, and you've given them the voice. And man, like, I sit here as a member of this community, you know, and reference of what you've done, man. Like, you, Asaya, and everyone in the background have done to give voice to our community, man, and everyone in the community. Legit, you know, like, legit everyone, like, everyone, man. And like, I sit in this seat, I'm humbled by that as being one member of this community that look at it and see that. And hopefully everyone that watches your podcast and the future podcasts will see that they're represented in the people that sit here.
Thank you, brother, man. There's some kind words, man. Thank you, man. Thank you, man. It's I think what you've said, it's you recognize what we're all about, you know, and that's what me and Azara are all about, talking to our people. And our people is anyone that you know we can talk to, our West, or you know, anyone that can inspire, or you know, or someone that we can learn from, because that was the main thing for us, learning off our own people, you know, from all walks of life. So thanks Barney, for coming on and sharing.
Much respect to you.
Having a conversation with me, and we'll do it again. We'll do it again.
Oh, that disappeared, man. That time disappeared, man. I'm going to check my phone to all these alerts. Where are you? You said it was going to be an hour. Hey.
Oh, the evidence.
Yeah, evidence is there, but I'm just fast forward about that South Auckland, but now she knows that KFC is not great. She knows that South Moore one's not that great.
Okay, Bunny, thanks, brother.
Thanks, brother. Oh, man.